to fix the... Hold on. Don't play it. We were so close. Where is it? Fuckers? Da-da-da-da. It's got to be done. Where is it? It's gonna be... There it is. Oh, shit. I'm scatting this morning. All right, I gotta fix my camera, I guess. I don't know. Where's my camera? Oh, where's my camera? Yes, lordy, so. Look at Lolo down the hole. All right, what's going on here? What's the matter? What's the matter, everybody? Uh-oh, that's not right. There we are. Holy moly, it just took a minute. Oh my God, I still don't have...
The Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions will please come to order.
Everybody, okay, they need to calm down. They're starting the hearing that I wanted to start, but first I got to get rid of the dinosaur. I'm sorry, I love the dinosaur too. I love the dinosaur all day long. I love her so much, she's like me. Hi! I forgot my camera's kind of differently scheduled. Okay, all right, that doesn't matter. I'm good, Neil. How are you? How was your sleep? How was your night? Let me get rid of this little baby. Oh my God, where are you, Dino? Hold on. Dino. Dino, why do you try to get on my screen all the time? Dino, why are you always back in line? I don't know, that just rhymed. Okay, where's the dinosaur? Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Oh, I gotta organize this. I gotta organize this, okay? That's what has to happen here. Hold on, I'll try a different setting here. Oh, I don't know. Oh, these kids today. It's a bit low? Oh. Okay, hold on. That's weird. Because it's at the top. Oh, wow. Maybe it's me. Okay, it might be the way I'm using my mic. How about that? Is that better? I think I was talking into the side of the mic. Like an idiot. All right, I gotta get this fucking dinosaur off the screen. It's gonna drive me crazy. You know what? I'll get the dinosaur off the screen later. What's wrong with me? I agree with Karen. Hi, Karen. Good morning. Good morning, Sharon Brown. How are you, darling? Thank you, Karen. My night was fine. Sharks. Hope yours was good, too. It was. I wish I'd gone to sleep a little earlier, but that's just, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Oh, some things will never change. Oh, but don't you believe them? All right, is that any better? Can I get a volume check? 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, we're going to listen to white men try and tell women what they should put in their bodies. Hey. Sharks just made me snort. Karen. What does sharks mean? Is it a joke that I don't get? Might be. Anyway, hey, let's go. So this is men telling women what to do with their bodies. Hey, welcome to the 21st century. Good morning, gal. This is about abortion and how men would like to control abortion. So, the huge. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn them on. Let them loose. Oops, uh-oh, I don't like that sign.
I'm a doc. When you're a doctor, you're supposed to take care of your patient. When someone is pregnant, there are two patients. Both must be considered with absolute care and concern. And scientifically and morally, there's no difference in the value of a child whether she is in her mother's arms or she is in her mother's womb. And the science is clear. Life begins at conception, and abortion ends that life. Now,
it's not
we
clear.
can't dehumanize the conversation, and we shouldn't normalize the ending of that life. Not normalizing a procedure whose intent is to end a life. I want to highlight the March for Life next week in Washington, around the country. For decades, every January, thousands of Americans, very young and old, begin the new year by joining together to march and peacefully call attention to the sanctity and inherent value of every single life.
The dingo.
And so for those of you who will march in the weeks ahead, thank you.
Yeah.
We're here to represent your
Yeah.
passion and your action to
Yeah,
protect
he did.
women and their unborn child.
Fuck you.
We'll hear testimony today about the dangers of mifepristone, the chemical abortion drug. Now, these drugs are not safe, run-of-the-mill drugs. They're certainly not safe for the unborn child.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What year is this? Wait, what year is this? Is this 1986? Have I just graduated from high school? Is that the year we're in? Where we're talking about a drug that has been on the market for decades and been proven to be safe over and over and over and over again? Really? Really, you corrupt, fucking pedophile supporting bastard? Really? Really? Because as far as I can tell, you're the one that's killing women, Cassidy. You're the one, Bill Cassidy. You're killing women. Okay, this may be a short-lived thingamabobber. Yeah. Safer. Yeah. Oh, God. Okay. All right. I'll try.
But there can also be potential complications for the mother. And so here are the facts. One study showed that 9 in 10 women who take a chemical abortion drug describe their pain as moderate to severe. And half of women say the experience was worse than expected. Another study found that 1 in 10 women taking mifepristone experienced serious adverse events, including hemorrhaging, bleeding, sepsis, overwhelming infection, or just kind of infection but less overwhelming. These are not about statistics. It's about real women with real stories. We need to humanize this. A woman named Salome described feeling like her insides were being, quote, torn and sliced.
I'm going to guess her name was Salome. I'm going to guess that Salome, and it could be Salome. I'm not saying it can't be. But I'm going to say that it might be spelled like Salome, S-A-L-O-M-E, but I think it's pronounced Salome. Yeah, I'm going to guess he never met her or never bothered to ask someone, how do you say her name? And that maybe it is Salome. I don't know. It could be. Just saying.
Apart and, quote, seeing blood all over my legs. Like many, Salome regretted her abortion, saying, quote, I saw the most heartbreaking thing that I've seen in my entire life. I saw my child. And it was at that moment that it sunk in properly that I really have been pregnant. I've been carrying the life that I created inside of me until that very moment. I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
Okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not going to let Bill Cassidy do this. This story may be true. I've had an abortion. I know what an abortion is like, very much so. Okay? And you don't see the baby. There is no baby. All right? Because that fetus cannot survive outside the womb. And when the fetus can survive outside the womb, that's a different conversation. Then something else is happening with that mother. Okay? If the child is able to be saved as part of saving the mother's life, that happens. But abortions are medical procedures that typically are done at the point at which nobody's going to see a baby. Nobody's going to see a baby. Okay? That, to me, sounds like a horrific horror movie. And I know from personal experience that abortions are not horror movies. They're very upsetting. They're painful. They're emotional. There are a lot of things I don't expect this man to understand. But they're not horror movies. And if a horror movie situation happens, That's a medical experience that is different than a standard abortion. An abortion is health care regardless of how you feel about it. Doesn't matter how you feel. This is where your feelings don't really matter. Yeah, that's the way it is. So, sorry. All right. Well, we may let him get through his opening remarks. I don't know. Maybe.
It was the most beautiful thing that I'd ever created, and I destroyed it. Another woman named Shanice described the cramps as unbearable, saying that it, quote, felt like somebody stabbing me in my stomach. Shanice ended up going into sepsis because the abortion drugs left some of the unborn child's remains inside her. After 2 months hospitalization and a partial hysterectomy, she had to relearn to walk and perform normal everyday activities.
Okay, he's talking about mifepristone and what happens after you take what they call the morning after pill or something like that. But it's a pill-based chemical way. It's a chemical abortion is what they call that. So it's able to, release any. Yeah, a full-term pregnancy is riskier, right? But so he's talking about that. Now, here's the thing I'm also going to remind us of is that mifepristone has been around for a very long time. And it is a safe drug. I'm sorry. They've already tested it. Now, this administration, here, let me tell you what's really going on. What's really going on is this administration wants people, especially white people, to have babies. Because for some reason, it's either a religious fanaticism and or just a desire to make more serfs. I don't really know. But, and it's also to keep traditionally, to really... not support, like encourage, right? The women stay at home taking care of kids. And I don't know which hair is up the ass of someone on this one, but they really, really want this to happen. And mifepristone is getting in their way because it's an easier way to manage what might be happening to your body and avoid an abortion. Avoid an abortion. Hi, Grace Lisa. My mother was a midwife. Oh, God bless. And I used to look at the medical books. There are so many crazy things that can happen to a fetus and or the ambiguous genitalia that appears as crazy. Yes. Yeah, they want to cancel the 20th century. Yeah. The problem is if you restrict access to abortion, when you restrict access to mifepristone and other drugs that assist women in managing their health care or birthing people in managing their health care, when you restrict that, people die. And much more than your imagined fetuses die. Okay? The fetus that you put a bow on its head is not what we're talking about. I can't watch a bunch of dudes lecture me on my body. Signal me if you move on. Okay, will do. I get it. Well, there is something else. Actually, I'm not making it through his goddamn speech, so this could be really, really fucking... And now we'll hear... more horror stories.
And if you don't, tell me about it. Wait, you're being trafficked? We're calling the police.
Oh, okay. Here's another thing. People who are... I worked in anti-trafficking, anti-slavery. So, again, I actually know about this, too. But what I'm going to say is that people who are trafficked don't admit to doctors that they're being trafficked. Because here's what happens. That doctor and the police, first of all, most of the time trafficking victims have been warned that police will not believe them. And they've been convinced of that. So they don't speak out. They're not waiting for the first person who comes along to say, save me. It's a whole thing. Because trafficking is as much an emotional and mental abuse crime as it is a violent crime. So I'm sorry if the, Captain Savior here thinks that he's, this is what all men want to do. They all want to save women. They want to save the little waifs. right? They want to save all the little girls the little waifs, the little princesses, all the little girls that they want to save, right? Men do that all the time. I've seen really smart men fall for really stupid women. That are just like that encourage the savior complex in men, right? And that men provide that with great ease. So I don't think that this is like, I don't know. It's just not something that Dr. Cassidy is gonna fix at all. Hi, Lee. Got next meeting. They're mad at Misto because science outsmarted their psychotic power plan to force women into childbirth. There you go. There are already too many people in the world. And I have a whole administration that we could wipe out, and that would be a start. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, here we go.
Why do we have it on the inside of
has found that's not for nearly proven to say about protecting hand
the topic? Women, families, and unborn children deserve nothing less. And with that, I recognize Ranking Member Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In a few minutes, I'm going to hand the mic over to Senator Patty Murray, who has been a national leader on this subject. But first, let me be as clear as I can be. This hearing is not about the safety and effectiveness of mifepristone. It is not about protecting the health and well-being of women. The overwhelming evidence from the scientific and medical community is clear, and it is unambiguous. Mifepristone is safe, it is effective, and not only has it been proven to safely end the pregnancy, it has been used by women throughout this country and the world to effectively manage a miscarriage. That's not what Bernie Sanders' position is. That's what hundreds of clinical trials and studies in prominent medical journals have found for nearly 3 decades. That's what the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the largest organizations of OBGYNs in America, has found. That's not my view. It's not Patty Murray's view. That's their view. That's what the American Medical Association, representing over 270,000 doctors, have found. That's what the FDA has found for more than a quarter of a century after it approved mifepristone in the year 2000. Let's be clear about what this hearing is about. It's not the safety of a drug. It is about the ongoing effort of my friends in the Republican Party to deny the women of this country the basic right to control their own bodies. That is what this hearing is about. 4 years ago, 6 Supreme Court justices, all nominated by Republican presidents, decided to overturn Roe v. Wade, abolish the constitutional right for women to have an abortion, and give politicians in state governments all over this country the right to control a woman's body. Since this disastrous Supreme Court decision, 13 states have enacted a total abortion ban, and 28 states have restricted access to mifepristone. That is what this hearing is about. It's whether in the year 2026 we're going to fight to make sure that women have a right to control their bodies, or whether politicians take away those rights. Senator Murray?
Well, thank you very much, Chairman or Ranking Member Sanders, for letting me speak on an issue I care deeply about. The fact of the matter is medication abortion is safe and effective, and we have known that for a very long time. FDA had the data to show this when they first approved mifepristone 25 years ago, and its safety was reaffirmed when FDA approved a generic version of this last fall. We have a tremendous amount of data showing how safe this medication is. More than 160 high-quality studies have been conducted, and millions of women around the world use mifepristone safely every year, with fewer complications, by the way, than Viagra or penicillin. The fact of the matter is, mifepristone is one of the most studied medications we have. In fact, in October, a federal court ruled that FDA's current restrictions on mifepristone are illogical and unsupported by the evidence. The only reason mifepristone is regulated as heavily as it already is because of anti-abortion politics, not because of science. And now Republicans are holding this hearing to peddle debunked junk studies by anti-abortion organizations which have no credibility and have been forcefully condemned by actual medical organizations to justify reinstating more burdensome requirements and ultimately ripping medication abortion off the shelves entirely. We all know this hearing is not about the
Paulina, it's so good to see you. San Fran gal is Paulina, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping in. I love you so much. You're over there. You're doing things on Twitter trying to tell people what's what, and I love you. Hi, Clark. We're still a democracy? I guess so. I don't know. It feels very much not getting there.
actual science or the facts, and it's certainly not about what is best for women's health. This hearing really is about the fact that Trump and his anti-abortion allies want to ban abortion nationwide, and medication abortion is the most common method of abortion in the U.S. Republicans are furious that despite their extreme abortion bans, some women are still finding ways to get the care that they need, and they want to put a stop to it, whatever it takes. Of course, the overwhelming majority of people in this country do not want medication abortion ripped away, and they do not want Republicans legislating their pregnancies. And I think most people are going to see right through the utter BS that is being staged here today. I also have to say I'm stunned that Republicans found time to hold this sham hearing when they have yet to have held any sort of hearing holding RFK Jr. to account for undermining access to safe and effective vaccines and letting deadly diseases like measles and whooping cough rip through our communities. Wasn't he supposed to be here quarterly? Wasn't he supposed to leave the vaccine schedule alone? And isn't this committee supposed to be conducting oversight? It seems that we will have a hearing on literally anything but that. I want to, Mr. Chair, ask unanimous consent to enter into the record 8 statements from leading organizations on the safety of mifepristone and a letter sent by every single Senate Democrat last fall pressing FDA for answers on this new so-called safety review of mifepristone. We have not yet received an answer to that letter.
Without objection. It's my pleasure now to introduce Louisiana.
Okay, good news. There's a different hearing. I think it was nice to hear Patty Murray. Thank you so much, Patty Murray. I appreciate your words very much. I think we can kind of see how that hearing's going to go. But it's important to know that those hearings are happening. It's important to know that those hearings are really happening. I keep hearing you guys are a republic. Very confusing for us up here. We're a constitutional, we're a Democratic Republic or something like that. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Yeah, don't ask them to actually define that either, because they can't define that. They can just say that they don't have it. Okay, let me see. I'm going to actually go to this one. Now, this hearing is the oversight of the Federal Communications Commission. That might be interesting. Anyway, oops, this is not going to be the hearing on restricting abortion. Oh boy, it's going to be one of those mornings where everything's wrong. Okay, I'm going to get this started. I'll fix the screen after.
Act to draw a bright line. The FCC cannot target broadcasters based on viewpoint, and the White House cannot use the FCC to settle political scores. The threats this FCC poses to journalistic independence have been local as well as national. In Sacramento, people rely on local stations for wildfire updates, flood warnings, and breaking news. Local news is a lifeline for communities. When a handful of companies control local stations, communities lose independent voices, newsrooms face layoffs, and viewers are left with fewer trusted sources. That's why Congress sets strict limits for how big any one TV station owner can get. No company can reach more than 39% of U.S. households. That's the law. So it's deeply concerning when the Trump FCC appears open to deals that weaken local independence and plainly violates the law. Deals like Nextstar's acquisition of Tecna, which would create a media giant reaching 80% of U.S. households. And in Sacramento, Nextstar Tecna would put 2 of our 4 English-language local TV stations under the same owner. That should raise flags for anyone who believes in protecting local news and competition. Finally, I want to address cybersecurity. Our communications networks are critical infrastructure. They carry our calls, texts, and data. They support hospitals, small businesses, and emergency alerts, and they are under attack.
Karen, I'm
After
so
Salt
sorry.
Typhoon, the
That's a
worst
bummer.
telecom hack
sucks.
in U.S. history, the FCC began moving toward enforceable
glad you're
cybersecurity
here.
requirements for companies, not just voluntary promises. But Chairman Carr reversed course, leaving our networks more exposed. So today, we're going to put this record under a spotlight. The public deserves to know what Chairman Carr thinks public interest means and why he's using to pressure speech. Communities deserve to know why local voices are being squeezed by consolidation. And Americans deserve to know why cybersecurity protections were weakened at the moment we need them the most. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses, and I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize the chairman of the full committee, the gentleman from Kentucky, for 5 minutes for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Hudson, and thank you for holding this important oversight hearing. And thank you to our commissioners for being here. Commissioner Trosty, welcome back to the committee. We're glad to have you back here. And we always say, and it's true, that the members of Energy and Commerce get to work with the best people on Capitol Hill. And you were a part of our group at one time. We appreciate having you back. And this is an exciting time for the FCC, exciting time to be there. The Working Families Tax Act restored the FCC Spectrum Auction Authority, which had elapsed for more than 2 years. It also set a target of 800 megahertz of spectrum to be identified and made available for commercial use. These actions will help meet the growing demand for spectrum, but also, more importantly, ensure the U.S. continues to be the leader in 5G and even developing 6G. Under the first Trump administration, the FCC made a significant amount of mid-band spectrum available for licensed use and opened up 1,200 megahertz of spectrum for unlicensed use. This strengthened our position as a global technology leader, and American innovators have seized the opportunity. But in the years ahead, the United States must
Karen.
continue to lead in wireless innovation.
as bad as
Otherwise,
dreaming that
adversaries
Christmas
like
Day is
China
in the
will
morning
dominate
and
this
then-
battle and set their own standards according to the values of the Chinese Communist Party. That is harmful to both our economic growth and our national security, and I would say the security of the world. Facing these risks, we must act quickly. I am pleased that the Commission under Chairman Carr has already started implementing aspects of this law and has prioritized security throughout the communications sector. Another area where the FCC is working to maintain and expand American leadership is in space. Under Chairman Carr's leadership, the Commission has been hard at work modernizing satellite regulations. We have seen significant investment in innovation in space in recent years. Americans have long relied on GPS and other satellite-based communication services, but today, more Americans use satellite services for connectivity at home and on the go. I am pleased that the Commission has made this a priority. Finally, I have noted several times during this Congress the urgency of updating media regulation to allow regulated industries the opportunity to compete against new platforms, and specifically the big tech companies who are competing with broadcast and cable companies for advertising revenue and viewership. It is important to remove outdated regulations, and I appreciate Chairman Carr's efforts to modernize these legacy regulatory structures to reduce burdens on incumbent industries. This is an important time for the FCC. I look forward to hearing from the commissioners, and I yield back.
Thank you, Chairman. Now recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, the ranking member of the full committee, for 5 minutes for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Hudson. One of President Trump's most defining qualities has been his contempt for American media and his hostility towards the First Amendment. Trump has repeatedly attacked and threatened late-night hosts for making jokes that bruise his ego, dismissed reporting he does not like as fake news, smeared journalists for merely doing their jobs, and taken completely meritless legal action against news networks that do not bend to his will. And he's also debased the office he holds by resorting to bullying and name-calling, recently telling a veteran reporter who asked a question about the Epstein files, and I quote, "Quiet, piggy." On duty, or should say our duty here, is to conduct oversight of the Federal Communications Commission, and that has never been more critical than it is today. Because in Trump's ongoing crusade to chill free speech, punish news networks, and vilify American journalism, there has been no greater ally than Chairman Brendan Carr. Over the last year, Chairman Carr has grossly distorted the power and purpose of the FCC. He has weaponized the agency to benefit Trump and punish anyone who challenges him. He has rubber-stamped shady deals between media conglomerates when those deals have included monetary and political benefits for the president. He opened a sham investigations into small local media outlets for simply reporting on publicly available information about ICE raids. He weaponized the FCC's public interest principles to bully news organizations, and Chairman Carr repeatedly violated the First Amendment by threatening and intimidating broadcasters who aired speech that the president does not like. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. There's a reason why a Republican Senator, Ted Cruz, said that Chairman Carr's actions have been, and I quote, right out of Goodfellas and dangerous as hell. This was never more apparent than when Chairman Carr threatened to revoke American broadcasters' licenses if they did not take action against a comedy program, The Jimmy Kimmel Show, telling them, and I quote, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." And let's be very clear about what happened there. The federal government threatened to wield its power to stamp out speech it did not like, and this is a violation of the First Amendment. This is censorship, which does not belong in America. There was a time when my Republican colleagues would have been up in arms over all this, when their allegiance to the First Amendment was greater than their loyalty to one man. But obviously, that's not the case anymore. And the chairman's misdeeds do not end with his clear and dangerous violations of the First Amendment. After months of delay, Chairman Carr approved the Skydance Paramount merger, only after President Trump was paid $16 million to settle a meritless lawsuit, offered $20 million in free advertising, and received guarantees that CBS's editorial decisions would be tweaked in his favor. This is what we call a quid pro quo, facilitated by Chairman Carr. And that's why Representative Raskin and I have opened an investigation into this merger's approval. The American people deserve to know the truth, and that some of us in Washington still believe that billionaires should have to play by the same rules as the rest of us. Now, in sum, Chairman Carr has abandoned the FCC's role as an independent agency and has instead turned it into an instrument for President Trump's own personal and political benefit. In fact, during his testimony before the Senate, he openly stated that the FCC is no longer an independent agency because the president says so. That's, in my opinion, madness. And it makes clear that the FCC is no longer operating in the public's interest. Quite the contrary, right now, the FCC is failing the American people, and Chairman Carr is failing his oath to the Constitution. So while today's hearing is a good start, it's a past time that this committee hold a media hearing, so we can dig deeper into these and other matters. So finally, let me say, Chairman Carr's decision to insert the FCC into policy debates where it has no authority to act while walking away from congressional mandates and existing FCC rules is also very disturbing. While President Trump and Chairman Carr may wish that the FCC could preempt state and local laws on artificial intelligence, Congress has not given the agency that power. The FCC also does not have the power to raise the 39% national TV ownership cap, which can only be changed by Congress. So, frankly, Americans deserve a lot better than this. They deserve an FCC that upholds their constitutional rights, that acts in their interests, not in the private interests of the president. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. We've now concluded with member opening statements. The chair reminds members that pursuant to committee rules, all members' opening statements will be made part of the record. We'd like to thank our witnesses for being here today to testify before the subcommittee. Our witnesses will have 5 minutes each to provide an opening statement, which will be followed by a round of questions from members. The witnesses here before us today are Chairman Brendan Carr, Chairman of the FCC, Commissioner Ana Gomez, Commissioner at the FCC, and Commissioner Olivia Trusty, Commissioner at the FCC. Chairman Carr, you are recognized for...
Olivia Trusty? As in related to Jim Trusty? Trump lawyer? Really? Is that? I'm going to look that up. All right, here we go.
For 5 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. Chairman Hudson, Ranking Member Matsui, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the invitation to testify. While this is not my first time appearing before the subcommittee, it's my first time doing so as chairman. Like my colleagues, I have fond memories of this room. I started as an intern here over 20 years ago now. I also want to start by saying how proud I am of the FCC's dedicated staff and everything they accomplished for the American people last year. The FCC delivered an historic set of wins in 2025 thanks to them. I also want to applaud the important work that the subcommittee has accomplished this Congress. For instance, thanks to Chairman Hudson, Chairman Guthrie, and many of their fellow members, the FCC's Spectrum Auction Authority has now been restored through President Trump's Working Families Tax Cut Act, a major legislative accomplishment. In terms of the FCC's work, the agency has been following President Trump's strong leadership and moved quickly to execute on an ambitious set of reforms. We're advancing a Build America agenda, a concrete plan to unleash high-speed infrastructure builds in communities across the country. We're reinvigorating the agency's consumer protection work, including cracking down on illegal robocalls. We're empowering broadcasters to meet their public interest obligations. We're strengthening America's national security, and we're eliminating waste while modernizing agency operations. Much of this represents a significant change from the Biden administration policies. Indeed, when I took over as chairman of the FCC a year ago, the FCC faced several serious challenges. For instance, the Biden administration had allowed the U.S. to fall behind when it comes to one of the most important features of our economic strength, national security, and connectivity goals: spectrum. The FCC Spectrum Auction Authority had lapsed 2 years earlier. The Biden administration had failed to tee up a single new spectrum band for auction. And President Biden's national spectrum strategy committed to freeing up exactly 0 megahertz of spectrum. On top of that, permitting reform was going nowhere. The Biden administration was layering on heavy-handed regulations that only made it harder for broadband builders to start turning dirt. To make matters worse, the Biden administration was pushing policies that would make services more expensive for Americans. We had to turn things around and fast. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, we're doing exactly that. As I detail in my written testimony, the FCC's Build agenda focuses on unleashing the nation's broadband builders. It does so by advancing several core goals. For one, we're modernizing permitting rules and cutting red tape. For another, we're freeing up the airwaves that are necessary for America to lead the world again. We now have a massive new spectrum pipeline and are working on multiple new spectrum auctions. In fact, the FCC just voted at the end of last year on a plan to auction up to 180 megahertz of spectrum in the upper C-band. In the secondary markets, we're now seeing large chunks of spectrum move into the hands of competitors that can put it to productive use quickly. Indeed, one carrier alone announced that they built out spectrum they gained access to late last year. It's over 23,000 cell sites in record time, boosting 5G speeds by up to 80%. In all of this, President Trump and the FCC are looking out for America's blue-collar workers. In this job, I've had the chance to climb towers, splice fiber, and string lines with some of the country's most talented and hardworking telecom workers, and also some members of this committee as well. So it's important to me that the FCC do its part to strengthen the nation's telecom workforce. We're already seeing changes. Providers are now adopting faster payment cycles. They're closing loopholes that allowed foreign fly-by-night groups to swoop in and undercut U.S. workers, and they're improving safety. Finally, the FCC is now pushing the largest deregulatory effort in the agency's history. To date, we've teed up for removal over 1,000 rules. In all of this, we're seeing good results, including on affordability, where data just out shows that prices for wireless plans are now down over 4% since last January. I look forward to continuing to work with all of my commission colleagues and the agency staff to deliver on this important agenda. And in closing, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to testify. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Gomez, you are recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Chairman Guthrie, Ranking Member Pallone, Chair Hudson, Ranking Member Matsui, Vice Chair Allen, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today.
There is a special place in hell for women that work for this regime. And honey, you're going right to it, bitch. That's right. Anybody who willingly says, hey, I want to be a part of that. Hi, Tammy. How are you? So good to see you. Hi, Kim. How are you? Good to see everyone. Any woman that supports this nonsense, that walks into this and says, sign me the fuck up. Go to hell. Die. I don't care. Get off the planet. Stop talking. Stop doing things. Go work at Burger Barn. Hi, DIY. How are you doing? Anyway, fuck this bitch.
It is worth stepping back
you.
and asking where the FCC has been directing its
Fuck you.
energy. Too often, that energy has gone into culture war fights rather than protecting consumers and expanding access to reliable, affordable broadband. From my perspective, the FCC has drifted from its mission in ways that should concern this committee. Let me begin with the First Amendment. For months, this FCC has asserted an apparent roving mandate to police speech that this administration.
Okay, I take it all back. I take it all back. I take it all back. I think she's a commissioner, but she's saying that the FCC is going the wrong way. So I'm gonna take back what I said. Honorary Gomez. Your Honor, Commissioner Gomez. I'm gonna take it back, and I'm gonna eat my hat. So please continue.
Administration does not like, invoking an undefined and unchecked concept known as the public interest standard. The standard is being treated as a license to weigh in on content, viewpoint, and editorial judgment. The FCC's job is not to police content, root out media bias, or guarantee favorable coverage for any administration. Its responsibility is to regulate communications infrastructure and markets, not censor the speech
She's
that
going to
flows
get
through them.
fired.
Both the First Amendment and the Communications Act protect against the FCC interfering with speech and engaging in censorship. In a free society, the government does not get.
So sorry. Kim, I love Unlearn 16. Oh my God. I found her on, I found them on TikTok, and I don't know what pronouns they go by, but I believe it's they, them. And oh my God, I'm really dumb this morning. Forgive me. But they do such good explainers on things. Yes, Unlearn 16 class in session. I'm going to find that. Yes, very good. Very, very entertaining. Very good. Very straightforward. Absolutely love. We'll find and link in the description too. Thanks for that. Gosh, I didn't even know anyone else knew about them, so I'm really happy. I found them on TikTok, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so great, and I'm so happy. If they have a YouTube channel, fabulous.
To decide what speech is acceptable or aligned with its views. When the government's media regulator claims the power to judge content or to police bias, we move away from oversight and toward censorship and control. That is why it is so important for the Commission to define what it means by the public interest standard, something I have called on it to do repeatedly. It is also why Congress must insist on guardrails and protect against the FCC acting as an arbiter of free speech. I do want to acknowledge the Commission's continued bipartisan work on robocalls, which remain the FCC's top source of consumer complaints. But beyond that, we are seeing the FCC retreat from core responsibilities that help make communications more affordable, more transparent, and more accessible. Affordability is now one of the biggest barriers to staying connected. Programs like the Affordable Connectivity Program helped millions of households afford basic service. When that support lapsed, the impact was immediate. Yet the Commission has failed to treat that loss with the urgency it demands. Instead, what we have seen is a clear pattern of retreat from practical, consumer-focused initiatives. The Commission eliminated E-rate support for school bus connectivity and hotspot lending by schools and libraries. For many students, seniors, and families, these programs were the only reliable connection to the internet. Ending them removed one of the most effective tools we had to help people participate in the digital economy and to avoid being left behind. The Commission has rolled back limits on exorbitant prison communication rates. These communications are often the only way for those in prison to stay connected to the support they need to return to society without turning back to crime. Vulnerable families will now be paying higher phone rates because of this FCC's actions. The Commission has proposed weakening the broadband nutrition labels it previously adopted, making it harder for consumers to compare prices, speeds, and fees before they sign up for service, and making it easier for prices to rise. The Commission has stalled the cybersecurity trust mark after years of bipartisan work, leaving consumers without a practical tool in an increasingly risky digital marketplace. And in a nation that is home to millions of non-English speakers and that welcomes millions of international visitors each year, the Commission has delayed bipartisan efforts to provide consumers with multilingual emergency alerts. As we prepare to host the World Cup and the 2028 Olympics, language barriers should not become a public safety risk. None of the policies this administration has sidelined was symbolic. Their rollback reflects a Commission spending less time on consumer needs and more time on ideological priorities and the needs of billion-dollar corporations. Without sustained attention to affordability and consumer protection, even the largest investments in broadband deployment, including the BEAD program, risk becoming digital bridges to nowhere. If students cannot afford broadband, if families cannot trust the security of their devices, if incarcerated individuals are cut off from support, and if emergency alerts fail to reach whole communities, then no amount of deregulatory policy will close that divide. We should measure success from AI and other investments in human outcomes. Who is connected, who is protected, and who is fully included? That is the standard the FCC should be held to and the responsibility it must return to if it is to fulfill its mission. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Trusty, you're recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Chairman Hudson, Ranking Member Matsui, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. It has been 6 months since I was sworn in as a commissioner at the Federal Communications Commission. During that time, I have focused on policies to advance access to high-speed connectivity, strengthen the resilience of the nation's communications networks, and restore U.S. leadership in next-generation communications technologies. A critical part of that work has been the opportunity to travel across the country and around the world to engage directly with those who build, maintain, and rely on our communications infrastructure and technologies. From Jackson, Mississippi, to Eek, Alaska, and abroad, I have seen firsthand how fixed, mobile, and satellite connectivity is delivering on the promise of job creation, technological innovation, and economic prosperity. In Jackson, Mississippi, I saw how broadband is delivering quality, life-saving care straight into the homes of Mississippians.
Jay, that's so cute. Wait, I've got something. Here we go. Here we go now. Here we go now. Yeah, let's see. Kim got a gift membership. I don't know who that is. No, I don't know who that is. Oh my God, he hates me. Elizabeth got one. Jane got one. Oh, sweet. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know, there's a couple of words in there, but that's all right. I love it. This is the trivia song. I know that Kingdom guy got one, yeah. That's all right. Watch me. Oh, where's the alert box? All right. We got go. Okay, that's it. It's a great song. It's a great song. It's a great song. More green people. More green people. Thank you so much, Jay. You're too kind. You are too kind. Oh my goodness, that's too kind. Thank you so much. More green names. It is. It's the medieval trivia song. Remember when we had medieval trivia? We had a theme song for it. I'll have to show that video. I'll show that video at the end of the broadcast. It's a very good video. It's a great music video. Thank you so much, Jay. That was really generous. You didn't have to do that, goofy. Thank you so much. I was out of town and I missed that night, much to my... Oh, that's right! Because I think Bobo created the questions on that trivia night. I think she did a whole, medieval... Why did we do medieval trivia? I don't even remember. Oh, you're so wonderful. Thank you. I don't know why did we do medieval trivia? I have no idea. Jane, have you been freeloading here the whole time? Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, Commissioner Trustee. Please continue.
Across the Magnolia State. Doctors at the University of Mississippi Medical Center are treating chronic illnesses, managing high-risk pregnancies, and delivering mental health care by video to rural communities that would otherwise go without these essential services. In Bethel and Eek, Alaska, I saw how access to broadband is transforming lives. These Alaskan towns are home to some of the most rugged and hard-to-reach terrain, and broadband is enabling Alaska natives and non-natives alike to contribute to and benefit from the global digital economy while maintaining their treasured culture and way of life. And last fall, I traveled to Baku, Azerbaijan, to represent the United States at the International Telecommunication Union's World Telecommunication Development Conference. There, ministers and regulators from around the globe highlighted their progress on closing the digital divide within their nation's borders. They also used this forum to seek U.S. guidance and leadership on maximizing spectrum efficiency, building trusted networks and secure supply chains, and creating a regulatory environment that invites continued innovation, investment, and competition while protecting consumers and enhancing public safety. These are issues we confront at the FCC in almost every proceeding. They also inform the 3 priorities guiding my work: universal connectivity, network resilience, and U.S. leadership. Ensuring that every American has access to communication services has been the FCC's core mission since its founding. In addition to the Universal Service Fund, removing regulatory barriers that impede broadband deployment is critical to connecting every American. I commend members of this
Then
subcommittee
why hasn't it done
for advancing
it?
several
Because
legislative
I had so many kids
to
in
reform the
Brooklyn
permitting process
that
which will
didn't
help
have
accelerate
access
the
to
delivery
internet.
of high-speed broadband services
So many.
to homes and businesses across the country. In an era of growing digital hostility, however, achieving universal connectivity requires increased focus on the deployment of trusted and resilient network infrastructure. Our communications networks are the backbone of both our economy and our defense. From robocall scams to foreign-made network components to infrastructure vandalism and copper theft, the threats are evolving rapidly. Recent Commission actions to remove foreign adversary-owned labs from our equipment authorization process, to block illegal robocalls from exploiting American consumers, and to garner commitments from broadband providers to harden their network infrastructure will enhance network integrity while allowing us to maintain agility in responding to new and emerging threats. U.S. leadership in next-generation technologies, 6G, AI, emerging commercial services in space, and more hinges on our ability to deploy high-speed and resilient communications infrastructure to every corner of the country. Thanks to President Trump and members of this subcommittee, the Commission's General Spectrum Auction Authority has been restored along with the creation of a long-term spectrum pipeline. This positions America to lead in wireless innovation and beyond. Our continued success in technological advancement will ultimately be determined by a domestic and international regulatory environment that emphasizes innovation, competition, and global cooperation. Importantly, U.S. leadership isn't inevitable. It must be earned. I look forward to working with members of this subcommittee, the full committee, and our interagency partners to ensure that the United States is positioned to capture first-mover advantages in technologies that will define the future of our economic and national security. Mr. Chairman, thank you again for this opportunity to testify, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege and welcome someone I see in the audience here, former chairman of this subcommittee and the chairman of the full committee, Greg Walden. Welcome back. Good to see you, sir. We will now begin questioning, and I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Chairman Carr, for the United States to maintain its leadership in wireless innovation, we need to make both licensed and unlicensed spectrum available for commercial use. Can you tell us why a balanced spectrum policy is so important?
Yeah, U.S. leadership in wireless is part and parcel of our geopolitical leadership. We need the full toolkit out there, both licensed and unlicensed. In fact, on the unlicensed side, we're going to be voting at the FCC later this month to supercharge Wi-Fi. So Americans get better, faster, more powerful Wi-Fi. I think it's a great complement to the other work that we're already doing on the licensed side.
Appreciate that. Commissioner Trusty, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Thank you for the question, and thank you for your leadership on spectrum policy. I've been a proponent of an all-of-the-above approach to spectrum policy, where we can accommodate a variety of users, use cases, and technologies. Our immediate priority is the AWS-3 spectrum auction that'll start in June, and we're also working on rules for the upper C-band auction, which will create opportunities for licensed spectrum. But we also need more spectrum for unlicensed uses, so to support Wi-Fi and IoT-based applications. And we need spectrum for satellite connectivity and space-based applications. So I think that having licensed, unlicensed satellite spectrum is important for promoting innovation, investment, and competition, and strengthening U.S. leadership in next-generation technologies.
I agree. Chairman Carr, the White House recently released a presidential memorandum on 6G. How does this action affect your collaboration with NTIA on identifying additional bands for auction?
Well, thanks again to the work of you and this committee and President Trump, we now have a real concrete spectrum pipeline, 800 megahertz. And as part of that, we are collaborating very closely with NTIA, with Commerce, with the White House to make sure we're identifying the right target bands, studying them, and staying on track. And so that's a really good thing. Again, we, as a country, were behind a little bit on 3G, but we caught up on 4G, we caught up on 5G, and now President Trump is making sure that the U.S. leads the way on next-generation technology, too.
Great. Chairman Carr, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I'm part of the bipartisan, bicameral Universal Service Fund working group that's trying to implement long-term reforms to ensure sustainability for USF into the future. How does the USF ensure that broadband remains affordable for all Americans?
The Universal Service Fund has played a key role over the years ensuring connectivity for Americans all across the country. We're doing work right now, including making sure that we're ending any unlawful expenditures were taking place. We are policing better for waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs. We are going to work collaboratively with the bipartisan, bicameral task force that you talked about. And more generally on affordable, we are making some really good progress there. Again, just recent data out, wireless cell phone plans are down 4% since January 2025 alone. They're down over 7% from Biden-era highs. Right when we came into office, we ended a Biden-era plan that could have spiked the price of internet services for Americans living in apartment buildings by at least one study up to 50%. So there's a lot more work to go, but I'm glad that we're heading in the right direction.
Great. What reform ideas should Congress consider, particularly on the distribution side, as we evaluate the future of the USF?
Well, one thing that's important I think Congress is focusing on, should focus on, is technology neutrality. You know, we want high-speed fiber connections in so many parts of the country, but there's other places where you're going to have fixed wireless or a new generation of low Earth orbit satellite or 5G or 6G. So we want to do this in a way that makes sure that Americans get the connectivity they expect and deserve, but we do it in the most efficient way possible.
I agree. So public safety communications, also a top priority of mine, includes everything from upgrading our 911 systems to NG 911 to ensuring that we quickly restore communications following a disaster. Again, I appreciate your visit to Western North Carolina and looking at this issue. What are your top priorities in improving our public safety communications?
Well, your call to 911 absolutely always has to go through. That's a system that we never want to see fail. And we're taking a lot of steps to harden that. We are working to collaborate across different industry segments, including power and utility and telecom crews, so that when you rush into a place like Western North Carolina after Helene, that we're making progress and not stepping on each other. So we're encouraging that, and we're taking other efforts to encourage this broader transition to all IP networks, which again, can really strengthen the resilience and performance of the 911 and public safety system.
Great, I appreciate that. My time is getting very low, and I can't hold everybody else accountable if I go over, so I believe I'll stop and recognize our ranking member, Ms. Matsui, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Trump administration is weaponizing the FCC to punish speech it doesn't like. A free press is supposed to hold power accountable. Commissioner Gomez, President Trump has threatened to revoke the licenses of NBC and ABC, claiming they're biased and give him only bad publicity or press. Yes or no, does the FCC have the power to take licenses away from network affiliates solely for the content of their news coverage?
No, they do not.
Okay. Chairman Carr has consistently used the FCC's news distortion policy to justify investigating broadcasters. Can you briefly describe the news distortion policy and whether, in your view, it allows the FCC to revoke or not renew a broadcast license for perceived bias?
Thank you for that question. So the news distortion policy covers local broadcasters broadcasting news about a significant event, but it requires intentionality to mislead about a significant event, not merely an incidental event. And it also cannot be used if you just simply disagree with the content and if it's just an incidental mistake. Now, the courts have looked at the constitutionality of the doctrine, and what they've said is, under the constitutional scrutiny, because we are looking at deliberate distortion and not just mere inaccuracy or a difference of opinion, that it would uphold the constitutionality of the news distortion policy. Under this FCC, however, we appear to be using the news distortion policy to go after any content that we don't like, and using that in conjunction with this vague public interest standard.
Okay. Chairman Carr, the Communications Act requires broadcasters to serve the public interest. Does that stand?
There we go. Mike. Thank you, Carrie. Or Grace Lisa. Thank you, Grace Lisa. God, I'm on fire this morning. On fire. Woo. Thank you. That was really sweet. Thanks. All right. It's definitely your laptop. It's not me at all. I didn't make any mistakes just now. It's totally you, Neil. Okay. Thanks, Grace Lisa. Sweet. They're so sweet. You guys are too generous. Thank you.
Standard allow the FCC to censor or interfere with broadcasters' free speech under the First Amendment? I just want a yes or no here.
What the Supreme Court has said on this issue is that, quote, no one has a First Amendment right to a license. So the FCC enforcing the public interest standard on broadcasters, according to the Supreme Court, doesn't violate the First Amendment and doesn't constitute
So where do you come down? Is it yes or no? I want to just hear from you, yes or no?
So could you repeat it?
Yes or no? I mean, just don't quote the Supreme Court. Where are you, yes or no?
Look, the FCC has an obligation to enforce the public interest, and that's very unique as to broadcasters. Again, if you step back, broadcasters are unique among all other distributors of news and information because they have a license.
I don't need a speech now. Does the public interest include informing the public about what their government, including ICE, is doing in their local community? Yes or no?
The core ingredient of the public interest standard is to identify the needs of your local community and make sure you're meeting that.
Okay, so it's a yes, right?
Broadcasters have an obligation to identify and meet the needs of the local communities they serve.
Okay. When you talk about the public interest, does the public include Americans who disagree with the president? I just want a yes or no here.
Does the public include people that disagree
Who
with the president?
disagree with the
Yes.
president when you talk about public interest? Does that include Americans who disagree with the president? I just want a yes or no.
Yes, the public includes people that
Okay.
disagrees with the president.
In 2021, you wrote that a newsroom's decision about what stories to cover and how to frame them should be beyond the reach of any government official. Do you stand by that today? Yes or no?
Yeah, in that context, there were members of this committee that wrote letters to cable companies, which again aren't broadcasters, no public interest obligation, and they pressured those cable companies to drop cable channels, Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax, because the members of this committee described them as right-wing outlets. I think when the
Okay.
Democrats on this committee did that, it was wrong.
All right, slow down, Brendan.
So, to recap, we agree that broadcasters are protected by the First Amendment. Is that right?
Yes.
The public interest includes informing communities about government action, correct? And the FCC, a government agency, shouldn't influence newsrooms' decisions, correct? Okay. So why did the FCC open an investigation into KCBS in San Francisco after it covered the January 26th ICE raid in San Jose?
The FCC, I believe, received either a complaint or we heard concerns about that specific radio station, and we've raised those concerns. I believe we've heard back from that radio station, and we have nothing new to share to update on that investigation.
Okay, so,
That's time.
excuse me? Did I lose my time?
Yep.
Okay, it seems like.
Your time has expired.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Chair now recognizes the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Guthrie, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you for being here. So Chairman Carr, I appreciate your commitment to meeting the 800 megahertz target established in the Working Families Tax Cut. Can you talk about how the consumer benefits that making spectrum more available for commercial use brings to hardworking Americans, but focus on how it will impact prices for hardworking Americans?
Thank you very much for the question. Prices, according to new data just out, on the wireless side in particular, are already down over 4% from January 2025 alone. And part of this is our work to make more spectrum available, both through auction and secondary markets. When you introduce new spectrum into a market, the data shows that it drives down prices for consumers significantly. And so both in our work in the secondary markets and our work in the upcoming auctions, pushing more spectrum into the marketplace is going to be really good for consumers.
Okay, thank you. So, Commissioner Trustee, the U.S. has led the world in wireless innovation, including through unlicensed uses of spectrum, such as Wi-Fi is a great example of unlicensed. It's changed the way people connect to the internet and led to an ecosystem of new devices that we all rely upon. So could you, how can we continue to foster this innovation and investment to ensure the United States continues to lead the world in wireless?
Sure. Thank you for the question, and thank you for your leadership in spectrum policy. Because we have the spectrum provisions in the Working Families Tax Cut Act, that gives us the foundation we need to lead the world in wireless. And so to build on that, we need to maintain predictability in our spectrum policy, so to continue to have auction authority and a long-term spectrum pipeline. We need to be leading in international standard-setting bodies. We also need to maintain strong interagency coordination. And I think we need to be investing in artificial intelligence so that we can increase spectrum efficiency. And I think AI will define the future of things like 6G, AI native networks, and capabilities like integrated sensing and communications. And to build on that, I also think we need to continue to build trusted and secure infrastructure and develop coalitions with our international partners and allies so that our preferred technologies and standards achieve harmonization and scale. I think all of those things will position us well to lead in wireless innovation.
Okay, thank you, and welcome back to the committee. Hope you're enjoying it from that side. Thank you so much. And I enjoyed working with the ranking member of this subcommittee. We still work together, Ranking Member Matsui, on spectrum policy. That's been a good work for us. And so, Chairman Carr, could you speak to the importance of media modernization and why it's critical to remove outdated regulations for incumbent industry?
I just want to break for a minute because were they just talking about measuring broadband Is that I can't I didn't follow the conversation about what is, kind of like the measurement of I didn't really catch it. But then I started to look at like what is if it was measuring Broadband America, that's an actual program from the FCC. But here we go. When I go to it on the Federal Communications Commission page, an official website of the United States government, the Federal Communications Commission's Measuring Broadband America program is currently not collecting additional data. So they collected between 2011 and 2023. Although the FCC is no longer funding a contracted in-home measurement program, it continues to actively follow the evolving fixed broadband delivery service landscape, including, here we go, the FCC's broadband data collection. So I'm like, what? Okay, here we go. This is a good one. The need for accurate data pinpointing where broadband service is available and where it is not available has never been greater. The National Broadband Map provides information about the internet services available to individual locations across the country with new maps of mobile coverage as reported by blah, 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 blah. Interesting. What's this? FCC to open 8th broadband. Okay, so well they're doing data. They're just doing it on a different website. Okay, well, you know what? Media literacy. Very interesting. So just wanted to, whoa. Oh wait, are they asking for public comment? Awesome. Okay, sorry. Continue.
To allow them to better compete with big tech?
Well, one of the main concerns I have with respect to media policy is you have on the one hand all these individual licensed local TV stations. On the other hand, you have these national programmers, Disney, Comcast, a handful of others. And over the years, historically, we had a balance between the national programmers and the licensed local TV stations. But recently, what we've seen is those national programmers have just consolidated and amassed a massive amount of power. We're losing that balance between the national programmers and the actual local TV stations. In some cases, they're becoming just a mouthpiece for programming being produced by those national programmers. So
is he
the
upset
thing that we're
with
trying
Sinclair?
to push the hardest on our media policies is to
Who's he
re-empower
upset
those
with?
local TV stations to compete in this modern media marketplace.
Okay, thank you. And also, Chairman Carr, space is expected to dominate the upcoming World Radio Communications Conference. I think Commissioner Gomez told me yesterday he has been very involved in the radio communications conferences. I'm deeply concerned about what China and Russia are doing in space. And that being said, our friends across the Atlantic have been making it difficult for the American companies to operate in the European market. Chairman Carr, from your perspective, how do we posture the U.S. for success? And do you think there's still room for partnership with our partners in Europe?
One thing I have credit to my predecessor, Chairwoman Rosenworcel, she stood up a new space bureau inside the FCC. And one thing that we're doing is really supercharging those efforts there. Right when I came in, we cleared out over half of the backlogs that had been there. We recently approved a next generation constellation into low Earth orbit. And we did that in roughly half the time that it had taken the FCC to approve the prior updated constellation. And so, as you point out, China wants to dominate in low Earth orbit and up and down all orbital slots.
I have about 30 seconds. So what in this area, what can the committee do to help? Is there legislative need for you, or what can we do to help you?
The FCC needs to continue to move faster in this space, and legislative efforts to help lock that in would be a good thing.
Okay, thank you. I have 15 seconds left, and I will yield them back.
I appreciate that, Chairman. Chair now recognizes the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Pallone, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you, Chairman Hudson. And Chairman Carr, I did want to get into the local broadcasters that you mentioned, but just a simple yes or no initially. You recently stated that the FCC is not an independent agency. True? Yes or no?
I said the FCC is not formally speaking an independent agency.
Okay. But to me, that is very much contradictory to what you said in 2022 when you testified before this very subcommittee, and you made it clear that Congress made the decision that the FCC is truly independent, not the president, and certainly not you, that it is an independent agency. So I think you're kind of hedging a little bit when you say that you think it is an independent agency, because I think you repeatedly said that it's not, but whatever. Let me get to Commissioner Gomez. Can you discuss the importance of the FCC's independence from political interference, if you will?
Thank you for your question. Congress set up the FCC as an independent agency because it feared that the agency should not be subject to the whims of one person or one political party. That is why we have an independent, multi-member expert body that regulates our communications medium. So when we declare that we are not independent, what we are doing is, A, we're not recognizing what Congress wanted when it created this independent agency, but we are also putting way too much power into one person and then doing their political whims.
I appreciate that. And I do think, Mr. Chairman Carr, that you don't, your repeated comments do not suggest that you think it is an independent agency, but I don't want to get into all the details because I do want to get to this local broadcaster issue, which you mentioned before, because I think local broadcasters are some of the most powerful voices shaping public opinion at the local level, and the FCC has adopted and enforced ownership restrictions to ensure the needs of local communities are met, and that's why I have concerns with any further relaxation of that ownership. And I also want to remind you that Congress set the maximum reach for entities owning TV stations at 39% of national television audience households, and only Congress can change that threshold. So let me ask you, Chairman, do you agree that only Congress has the authority to raise the national ownership cap?
The position of the FCC consistently over the prior 4 chairs, Republican and Democrats alike, has always been that the 39% cap is a rule that the FCC has on our code of regulations. And as a general matter, I really agree with you on the need to reinvigorate.
Right, but you're
broadcasting.
saying then that you don't think, you think you can raise it on your own. The commission can.
These are issues that we're looking at right now. I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, yes or no? You do believe that you can raise the cap on your own? You're saying it's a regulation, not a statute?
we're looking at that right now. I'm saying that if you look at the last 4 FCC chairs across Republican and Democrat, the FCC has consistently been
Well, I don't think you're
it's a
answering
rule.
my question, but let me move on. Commissioner Gomez, do you agree with Chairman Carr? And, well, I guess he didn't really say anything. So let me ask you, what impact do you think any relaxation of this 39% would have on consumers?
Thank you for that question. So yes, the 39% ownership cap is in fact in the statute. The Congress amended the Communications Act when it imposed the 39% ownership cap. So I don't think that we have the authority to waive that. It is not just a rule. Rules are how we implement the act. I believe consolidation is worrisome. I travel all over the country and I meet with local broadcasters, and I am always so impressed with their commitment to their communities and to serving their communities. What I fear is that this consolidation is going to enable behemoth corporate parents to take those local broadcasters and to create, quote, efficiencies that will in fact water down local news and then lead to less service for their communities, not more.
Well, thank you. One more question. There's a lot of discussion with the chairman about the public interest or the public interest standard, but I really believe that under Chairman Carr's leadership, the FCC has really not served the public interest, but rather the personal or political interests of President Trump. So let me ask you, Commissioner Gomez, has the FCC under Chair Carr's leadership been guided by the public interest standard as you would expect, especially when it echoes President Trump's threats to take away broadcast licenses for merely criticizing him? How is that in the public interest?
Fundamentally, it's important to note that we are subject to the First Amendment and to the Communications Act prohibition on censorship. We cannot use this vague and undefined and unchecked term, the public interest, in order to go after any content we don't like. What we are seeing under this administration is retaliation against speech and reporting that this administration doesn't want in order to get coverage that this administration wants. That is not a good use of the public interest standard, and we need to define what we mean by that.
The gentleman's time's expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Chair now recognize the Vice Chairman of the subcommittee, Mr. Allen, for 5 minutes
Excellent
for your
questions.
questions.
Thank you, Chairman Hudson, and also Chairman
He's
Carr
like,
and
you're so
other
fired.
members of the commission for being here today. And anyway, thank you for your service. It's great, even under
an Epstein pedophile cover-up, White House ballrooms that are lavish, and the Trump family getting rich off of
possible footing. thankfully, President Trump has
I'm
been
sorry.
very clear
Sometimes
to every
we speed
agency
up through Republicans.
that the United States
Did I
is going to
mention
lead
that?
the world
We
in
do.
next generation
Anyway,
technology.
we're
That's
going to join the
resulted
Democrat
in
in
a lot of
progress.
close collaboration from the FCC,
Sounds like he's
NTIA,
coming out of the
Commerce,
gate
the White
hot.
House, and hopefully, we continue to make a very strong,
I think the
unified
whole
position.
pedophile
China
supporter
and
is
others
the
are gonna be very
messaging. That
unified
got
going
Trump
into
to
that.
flip someone
So
off.
we need a strong U.S. position as
Yeah,
well.
honorary.
Good.
Gentleman's
Great.
time has expired.
Yeah, thank you for
Commissioner
your service. Now
Gomez is
yield
not
back.
going to be
Thank
invited
you,
to the
Chair. Now
barbecue.
recognize the gentleman from Florida,
That'd
Mr.
be July
Soto, for
4th,
5
yeah.
minutes for your questions.
Thank you, Chairman. President Trump has the most corrupt administration in modern history. $2 billion cryptocurrency scandal, pay-to-play pardons, pardoning January 6 insurrectionists, an Epstein pedophile cover-up, White House ballrooms that are lavish, and the Trump family getting rich off of official U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and beyond. And when the national media like CBS, ABC, and NBC cover these egregious scandals or use satire, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr tried to crush them using his power as FCC chairman. CBS covers the cryptocurrency corruption, pardon of the Binance founder. Then CBS is forced to install a bias monitor 2 days after the merger approval, under pressure from Carr and Trump, along with an extortion payment of $16 million. ABC's Jimmy Kimmel uses satire to criticize Trump. Carr threatens their license. NBC's Seth Meyers uses satire to criticize Trump. Chairman Carr echoes Trump's call for Meyers' ouster. Chairman, you've turned the FCC into Trump's attack dog to crush First Amendment rights through FCC extortion. The Chinese Communist Party would be impressed. There was a time when you passionately defended First Amendment rights. In fact, you and I tangoed over COVID and issues related to that. So how do you justify using the FCC to censor news and satire of Trump's rampant corruption?
Have an obligation to operate in the public interest. And in 2021,
Is it not
wrote
the
this
public
letter
interest?
right here to the FCC asking us to take action when there's a transaction pending at the FCC involving a Spanish language radio station in South Florida.
Is it
You talk
not in
about
the public
disinformation and
interest
pressuring the
for
FCC
people to know
pocket.
about the corruption
And then
that's
you had
happening in
other
this
Democrats
administration?
Step in and say, to win in 2022, this must stop. Pressuring the FCC to block a sale because Democrats thought it would be bad for
Reclaiming
their
my
business in
time.
2022.
You serve the
After
American
that,
people.
time.
What
Don't
is that
let this
issue?
bitch talk.
Is blatant
He's a
corruption
fucking
by the Trump
Nazi.
administration, and you
Nazis
trying
don't
to
get to
hide
talk.
it. And everybody knows it. Commissioner Gomez, one day Chairman Carr's reign of un-American censorship will be over. How do we restore public confidence in the FCC after this national censorship scandal?
Oh, thank you for that question. I think Congress can really help us here by putting guardrails on the FCC so that it cannot violate the First Amendment and censor content on broadcasters.
And what do you think those guardrails should be?
I think defining the public, what it means to serve in the public interest would be very helpful.
Do you think highlighting corruption is in the public interest?
I think the FCC should stay out of content, whether we like it or not. And that is the problem, is this administration wants to retaliate against news organizations that have the temerity to report factually about this administration.
Well, the history books will not be kind to that. It's been over a year since Trump took office, and we still don't have rural broadband in rural communities like mine and others. You came to my district a while back in Orlando to hear from veterans who utilize internet to help with their health care. What has the effect been of the BEAD program still not being rolled out across America with regard to consumers?
These guys can fucking shoot people in the face, and
it is so important
nothing
for us to
happens.
be able to participate in this economy today, the digital economy, to have access to affordable broadband. And the communities that
midterms.
don't have that
Hope
are
we all
getting
make
further
it
and
till
further
then.
left behind. And as you know, when we came, we were talking about the Affordable Connectivity Program and how important that was to veterans to be able to make their meetings and their health care appointments without having to, in fact, travel. It saved them days of painful travel. So we need to focus on this issue so that every American can have access to affordable and accessible broadband, especially if we want to be world leaders in artificial intelligence. It is so important.
And what happens to rural businesses, farms, ranches when they don't have access to high-speed broadband?
If you don't have access to high-speed broadband, you really are at risk of being left behind. It is an imperative in today's economy, in this digital economy, to have access to broadband.
Thanks, Chairman. I yield back.
Thanks, gentleman. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta, for 5
Well,
minutes.
thank you,
for
Mr.
your question.
Chairman, and thank you to the Commission for being with us today. Chairman Carr, Commissioner Gomez, and Commissioner Trustee, and congratulations. It's great since you've been in my office years back to follow your career. Congratulations. Chairman Carr, let me just start off. With the BEAD program, how much shovels in the ground were there in the Biden administration?
The BEAD program was President Biden's $42 billion plan to connect millions of Americans to high-speed internet. And after over 1,000 days,
Dollars were spent. And in your testimony, you talk about some of the things you're really
Oh, it just
focusing
jumped
on.
ahead,
And one of the
sorry.
things I think it's really important you talk about is when we talk about rural healthcare and telehealth. And I know when I'm in my rural hospitals, they can't afford to have a lot of different programs, you might say, or docs doing certain procedures, or especially on the mental health side. Could you just elaborate a little bit on the mental health side and the telehealth side?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. As you know, the Rural Healthcare Program ensures that rural patients have access to modern, quality healthcare, including telehealth.
He's
And the
from
FCC
Florida.
has made
Orlando,
some
it
process
sounds like, Paul
improvements to
J.
improve access to this essential program by
So does
extending
his
the
last
application
name.
deadline, by making sure funding aligns with demands. And we've been able to roll over unused funds for this year, for 2025, to ensure that we increase access to this important service. I think as part of the USF Congressional Working Group, there's another opportunity to explore additional reforms that can be made to this program to ensure that Americans in rural communities across the country have access to the quality care that they need.
Well, thank you. If I could just return to you, Commissioner Carr, just real quickly, because we had discussions when we talked about 4G, 5G, 6G, and I'd always ask this question: are we winning the race? I mean, you know, who's our competitor out there? We got to win this race. So, are we winning this race out there when we talk about 6G?
we are. We had fallen behind, in my view, during the Biden years, and now we've hit the accelerator, and we are going to be leading the world once again in next-generation technology.
Thank you very much. My time has expired, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
That's right,
Thank
DIY
you.
driver.
Chair now
That's
recognizes
his-
Representative
it's
from
on his
York, Ms.
t-shirt.
Clark, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Hudson, Ranking Member Matsui, for convening this hearing. Given the actions of the FCC under Chairman Carr, it's long overdue. Less than 1 year into his tenure, the FCC under Chairman Carr has given this committee many worthy avenues of exploration and oversight, most of which appear to stem from his new role as an obsequious partisan fulfilling President Trump's desire to exact revenge on his perceived enemies and line the pockets of the oligarch class. While appearing before this committee less than 4 years ago
Oh,
under the
Paul,
Biden
sending you a
administration,
big
then
hug. I'm
Commissioner
sorry,
Carr
babe.
rightly acknowledged the independence of the
today.
FCC,
We
free
go- we
from
try
executive
again.
branch interference,
I
but
love
recently
you,
made
Paul.
clear that
Hang
under
in
the
there,
Trump
bud, all right?
administration, that independence is gone. While this may seem like a shocking about face, it shouldn't be that surprising given Mr. Carr's role as author of the horrific Project 2025 manifesto, as well as the frankly bizarre choice to wear a golden lapel pin bearing President Trump's face. The weaponization of the FCC under Chairman Carr is not just frustrating, but dangerous. Dangerous for the nation and the ideals
No, you
upon
gotta
which
be
it was
zen
founded.
about it. It happened.
Individuals'
Now it's
freedom of
not
speech
happened.
and a press corps free from political
get some good
intimidation
rest.
are vital to a democracy. It's what also allows informed citizens to speak their minds without fear of government reprisal and serves as an important check on those in power. Unfortunately, these ideals are lost under this iteration of the FCC, which appears bound to the whims of a president intent on punishing those who report accurately on his unsettling behavior. Because my time is limited, I can't possibly list every example of the weaponization of the FCC in the last year, but a few that come to mind include reinstating complaints against news organizations that were critical of Trump during the election, while failing to reinstate a petition filed against the president's media outlet of choice, Fox. Ordering baseless investigations into NPR and PBS, using mergers to extract political revenge, and more, such as withholding approval of the Paramount Skydance merger until Trump's personal lawsuit was settled with financial payment, launching a ridiculous investigation into KCBS in San Jose for merely reporting on ICE activity in their own community, threatening to unilaterally alter national media ownership limits, which would reduce diversity in media and further endanger local news. Overtly partisan reinterpretations of the FCC's public interest standard and news distortion policies to enact a regime of censorship. And most notably, the overt threatening of licenses of broadcasters for carrying Jimmy Kimmel Live show. To the last point, Senator Cruz, who I rarely agree with, aptly described Chairman Carr's threats as akin to something out of a mafia movie. And let me just say, I don't see any Michael Corleones in this room today, only Alfredo. So my question is to Commissioner Gomez. For nearly 90 years, the FCC has functioned as an independent agency to insulate communications policy from political pressure. Can you explain why the FCC's independence is essential to its credibility and effectiveness, and what potential risks arise as that independence is eroded?
Thank you for that question. You know, when Congress created our predecessor, the Federal Radio Commission, it considered putting the commission under the Department of Commerce. And Herbert Hoover at the time said it was a terrible idea because it was dangerous to have the regulator of the most important communications medium at the time being overseen by a single person. And so that's why it created an independent agency. It's important to have an independent agency because we must be seen as an expert body that makes decisions based on that expertise and not based on the political whims of one administration.
Commissioner Gomez, how do FCC media ownership caps support diversity of viewpoints and locally focused news? And what do communities risk losing if these limits are weakened?
Our core principles when we talk about the public interest in local broadcasting are localism, diversity of viewpoints, and competition. The caps ensure that we have multiple voices in every market. That is why we have them. We want to ensure that we have that. If we lose those caps, what we are going to lose is that diversity of viewpoints, and we risk having one voice funneling all the information to our voters.
With that, I yield back.
Thanks, gentlelady. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Billionaires, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you very much. My questions are for Chairman Carr. In addition to serving on the Energy and Commerce Committee, I'm a member of the Select Committee on China. Under that role, I recently led a letter with Chairman.
Billionaires sounds like something that happens to your colon. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sound like a last name to me. It's obviously a last name. But yeah, state TV is where we're headed. You're absolutely right. With willing billionaire owners, by the way, Larry Ellison, looking at you. So they want to, like the Larry Ellisons of the world want to support this nonsense. Thankfully, I have representation, but they should have caught this. Yes, they should have. Oh, Paul, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's just such an overwhelming process in and of itself. And then to have a technicality fuck it up, that's fucked. Oh, he's from the Tampa area? Okay, well, he sounds like a colon condition. Okay, he sounds like something you have to schedule a procedure to address. Yeah, bilirubin. Yeah, exactly. Something that has to be extracted surgically is what I'm thinking. That's all I'm thinking. I'm not making fun of his name. I'm just saying that's what comes to mind when I look at this little lump of flesh. And bilirubin is his brother. All right, here we go, Billionaires. Wow us with your brilliance.
Molinar to your office regarding specific concerns about Chinese fiber technology entering our country and the security concerns it brings to the United States. The FCC and Congress has already done a great job to protect our networks from these threats.
And what the hell is that shirt?
But the concern remains.
What the hell is that shirt? Is that from
Just
Sears?
last week, the Financial Times reported
from like 1989?
a new China-backed hack of congressional staff email accounts.
Who dresses him?
Can you outline, Mr. Chairman, what
Baby,
actions
you're not high. You're right where you need to
take
be, Paul.
to identify and
Paul, you never have to apologize. You're in the right place. So don't you worry. I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're sharing. And if you need the support, babe, that's what we're here for. So crack on, man. Let's do it. I love it.
address adversarial threats to U.S. telecommunications infrastructure? And can you confirm that you'll continue, again, have all the necessary tools at your disposal to adequately address these concerns
Thank you, Kim.
without
Thank you for
additional
validating
congressional
my.
approvals?
It must have been his
Thank you,
last clean
Congressman, for
shirt.
the question, for your leadership on this important issue. One of the very first things I did as chair was to stand up within the FCC a new council on national security that brings together all of our
His name
bureaus and
can't be
offices and their
Gus.
expertise to bear on this issue, because China and other foreign actors are constantly poking and prodding and looking for ways into our communications network. We've taken actions on what we call bad labs to try to kick out equipment authorization bodies that aren't trustworthy.
But are
We've
we
taken
letting
action
the
to implement
Russians
the
in?
Secure Equipment Act, and with cybersecurity in particular, we work directly with carriers to ensure that they're taking renewed actions to accelerate the patching of vulnerable equipment, updating and reviewing their access controls, disabling unnecessary outbound connections. And the key there is we have to be very, very nimble and make sure that carriers and our country's national security expertise, including CISA and DHS, are very
What
closely
Karen said,
collaborated, because you need
you guys
very
pick
quick
me up off the
reactions
floor
given
every
the types of
couple
threats we're seeing.
days, it seems.
Very good. Again, question for the chairman. In your written testimony, you devote a section to the deregulatory actions the FCC has engaged in under your leadership. This includes removal of over 1,100 rules, regulations. I applaud these actions, especially as this committee is working on its
Brendan
own
Carr's a
permitting
dick.
reform package.
I was
to
wrong about
streamline
Commissioner
process.
Gomez and
Beyond the
apologized
baseline
profusely.
number of
She's
regulations
amazing.
removed, is
As
there
is
any
Commissioner
way
Trustee.
to quantify
And this
how
guy,
much time and
it's
or
amazing
money
to me
is
that he won
saved
an
by
election.
these actions?
That's
How?
it.
Thank
We're
you
gonna
very
skip
much.
through him
and
because
I'll
he's an
yield back.
idiot.
Thank you, gentlemen. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Peters, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for calling this important oversight hearing. In 2021, Congress voted to invest a total of $65 billion in the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, or BEAD, to advance universal broadband access, with over $1.8 billion reserved for my home state of California. By the end of the Biden administration, state deployment offices had made progress to the long process requirements, guidelines, and mandated studies, including in the law. They made awards to grantees who were committed to building fiber lines to hard-to-reach areas and strengthening connectivity in underserved areas. However, lamentably, there were no shovels in the ground, and I was one of the people who joined Republicans to criticize how long it had taken for that to happen and to be an advocate for permit reform in this field and in others. But by the beginning of 2025, states were ready to begin their build-outs, and the Trump administration decided to issue new regulations which halted any progress. So we're back where we started. We're no better off, and progress is still stalled today as the administration holds the BEAD program's funding hostage. The Federal Communications Commission is guided by the principle that all Americans should have access to communication services. The Trump administration's pause on BEAD funding broadband build-out for over a year goes directly against this principle. It continues the very things I joined Republicans to be critical of under the Biden administration. Commissioner Gomez, how do delays in broadband deployment affect the FCC's abilities to meet its goal of making affordable connectivity accessible to all Americans? And how can we ensure that people have the skills to take advantage of broadband once it's deployed?
Thank you for that question. We want to get broadband to every community, everywhere, as soon as possible, because we really risk leaving people further and further behind. And I'm afraid that we'll go from having a digital divide to a digital chasm.
Why
if
wouldn't we have
don't do
done
that.
something?
But
And
I'm
I
glad
mean
that you
everybody,
raised,
Democrats,
the
Republicans.
totality
Why
of
didn't
what
we
Congress
do it?
did with the Broadband Equity and Access Program, because one thing we cannot ignore is that we need affordability and we need people to have the digital skills in order to take advantage of the broadband that will give them access to this digital economy. And I'm afraid that this administration has completely lost its focus on that. And that is why I say I'm afraid that if we don't ensure that these networks are sustainable, but making sure that everyone can use them and afford them, we are going to be building bridges to nowhere.
Right. Well, I share that concern, and thank you. And I think it's critical we invest in, continue to improve programs like the Universal Service Fund to support affordable rates in underserved areas and rural access to hard-to-reach areas. And again, when I first came to Congress, we were all talking about rural broadband and how important that was. I think the pandemic showed us that the digital divide exists even in wealthy neighborhoods like the ones that I serve, and I think we should get at it. Along the lines of permit reform, last year I joined with my colleagues, Representatives Joyce and Landman, to introduce the Bipartisan Broadband and Telecommunications Rail Act. We've heard that when broadband companies try to build out communications infrastructure across railroad crossings, the cost and approval times skyrocket. To streamline the deployment process between broadband providers and railroad carriers, the bill would implement firm timelines, conflict resolution processes, and fee scales to help the FCC move faster in support of the public interest. It would outline the responsibility of each party and give the FCC authority where it previously had none. Commissioner Gomez, how would granting the FCC authority over this process speed up access to fast, reliable, and affordable connectivity? And are there other areas in broadband deployment that the FCC does not currently but should have jurisdiction?
Thank you for that question. And I am very supportive of streamlining approvals, and particularly of your bill's focus on making sure that the costs that are being recovered are actually the costs of providing those approvals. And that, I think, is very important. So I think it's very helpful when Congress gives us instructions on what it is that we're supposed to do, particularly in the area where we are, in fact, acting to either preempt local regulations or tell others what we think that they should be doing. So I look forward to working with you in the future on this.
Great. Maybe, Commissioner Trustee, any other areas in broadband deployment where the FCC needs jurisdiction, we need to give you jurisdiction?
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for your work on this bipartisan legislation. The Commission is working on a number of fronts to remove regulatory barriers that impede the deployment of broadband, whether it's pole attachments, environmental or historic reviews, and expanding access to rights-of-way. I think all of these things will help us accelerate access to connectivity.
Well, keep us posted on that. I'm out of time, and I yield back. Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. Chair now recognizes the representative from Georgia, Representative Carter, for 5 minutes for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for being here. Chairman Carr, there's been a lot of ink here recently in the past few months or so regarding the streaming market and competition, and there's been a lot of confusion about regulatory jurisdiction in this space. So you care to give us a view on the current landscape?
Well, streaming is something that we stay apprised of at the FCC. It's adjacent to markets that we directly regulate, and it's intertwined. And I think there has been concern increasingly expressed recently about consolidation in the streaming market and potentially further consolidation in the streaming market. That could potentially harm consumers.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Carr. And I'm going to jump straight into some of my next inquiry regarding broadband permitting reform. And as you know, I've introduced the American Broadband Deployment Act of 2025 to help cut red tape and the speed broadband build-out and to close the digital divide across America, which has been passed on to the full committee and awaits floor consideration. Chairman Carr, I appreciate your support for my legislation and your testimony, and I want to ask you, why is it important for Congress to pass my legislation codifying your reforms, and what kinds of steps is the FCC exploring to address state and local barriers to fixed and mobile broadband deployment?
Well, thank you, Congressman, for your leadership on permitting reform. I had the chance to visit with you in Georgia and actually splice fiber at an active build, and as we saw there and in other places around the country, and we have to make sure that's a tough job, it's a difficult job, but we shouldn't have red tape standing in the way. And I continue to think one of the most important things that can happen is to pass that package of permitting reform bills to make sure that we keep turning dirt.
I want to highlight another permitting national security issue regarding undersea cables. This is something that I've taken an interest in because it's critical broadband infrastructure that carries over 95% of international data traffic. I've got a bill that's called the Undersea Cables Protection Act, which will eliminate the need for redundant 5-year special use permits in national marine sanctuaries to streamline duplicate permitting that is significantly slowing down the deployment of cables. Chairman Carr, can you explain why slow-rolling subsea cable infrastructure is a threat to national security?
Well, thank you, Congressman, for working on this. Most consumers probably don't realize it, but to your view, over 95% of all internet traffic ultimately travels over undersea cable. So we're working at the FCC right now to incentivize secure investment, new undersea cables, cybersecurity requirements for some of the technology that is in there. I think your legislation would go a long way to promoting greater secure build-out of that critical infrastructure.
And a lot of this information is in the financial markets as well, isn't it?
That's right.
Commissioner Trusty, I want to ask you, the Commission recently issued a notice of proposed rulemaking on subsea cables that also addressed the importance of speeding the deployment of cables. Can you talk a little bit about how the FCC plans to expedite the permitting and licensing process generally, and why facilitating the deployment of cables is so important?
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. So last year in August, the FCC adopted a proceeding where we streamlined the licensing and permitting processes for undersea cables. We updated outdated rules, we established faster processing timelines for eligible applicants, and we cut unnecessary administrative steps or disclosures, and that helps to promote the fast and efficient deployment of undersea cables, which is essential for our economic and national security. This positions us to be able to promote more US-led cable projects, to diversify our subsea traffic routes, so in the event of sabotage or compromise, there's no single point of failure, and it means we can strengthen our disaster recovery and emergency response plans. So it really helps with redundancy in this critical infrastructure.
And it would be naive of us to think that this wouldn't be used as a weapon at some point.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Chairman Carr and Commissioner Trustee. I'm going to do the chairman a favor and give him back almost a minute. I yield back.
I appreciate that. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Ruiz, for 5 minutes to ask your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I want to begin by addressing the troublesome direction Chairman Carr has taken the FCC. He is a tool of President Trump's Project 2025 agenda to suppress freedom of speech and those who criticize Trump, and to forcefully favor Trump's billionaire friends and supporters in order to control the content. One, publicly criticizing Jimmy Kimmel Live over their content criticizing Trump, leading ABC and some affiliates to pull the show out of fear of a Department of Justice lawsuit and threats of pulling their license. Two, reopen complaints against ABC, CBS, and NBC affiliates for alleged quote-unquote news distortion, while ignoring similar complaints against other networks that support President Trump. Three, linked investigations to license reviews and looked into platforms like YouTube and Comcast, NBC Universal, sending a message that what companies say or do could be closely watched, overly scrutinized by the FCC. And finally, four, overseeing and facilitating media consolidation, specifically the proposed Nexstar-Tegna merger, which is owned by one of Trump's besties and supporters, and would give one company unprecedented reach to over 80% of households in America, controlling the content, threatening competition, weakening local journalism, and driving up costs for consumers. The Trump administration does not care about everyday Americans. They care about power, about control, and their billionaire friends. They care about making the rich richer and pushing their own agendas to suppress criticism of Trump and limit what Americans see on TV, to control the message and push his propaganda. That is not America, and that shouldn't be happening in America. Americans deserve an FCC that protects free expression and ensures all communities have access to diverse content. Commissioner Gomez, what concerns do you have on the Nexstar-Tegna merger and Chairman Carr raising the national audience cap from 39 to 54.5% illegally on a special deal to benefit Trump's friends?
Thank you for that question, Congressman. What we fundamentally want is we want local communities to get information about their local communities. And what happens when we have too much consolidation by these national corporations that own these local broadcasters is we lose the diversity of voices, and we lose that local news content that we have. Couple that with the defunding of public media, and we are also losing even more voices in our local communities. Now, the 39% ownership cap is in the statute. I don't think we can waive it. I think it would take an act of Congress in order to allow us to be able to grant a transaction of this size because of the fact that not only is the 39% cap in the statute, it's also, we were forbidden from forbearing from that cap.
Thank you. Thank you. The Trump administration has failed to ease the financial burden on everyday Americans. Their actions have raised costs. Specifically, they have posed several federal initiatives, including the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, state broadband price regulation, and the Universal Service Fund, all of which would raise costs. One of these programs, the USF, is crucial for ensuring that communities in the Coachella, San Jacinto, and Imperial Valleys have access to reliable and affordable broadband and telephone services. Through programs like Lifeline, USF provides direct discounts to low-income households, helping students, agricultural workers, and families stay connected while also supporting broadband deployment in rural and underserved areas where service would otherwise be too costly. USF alone helps expand essential services and promotes more affordable and competitive broadband options for residents. Commissioner Trusty, in your confirmation, you highlighted your commitment to, quote, considering adjustments to USF programs to better target resources to underserved communities. Do you still maintain that commitment?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And would you commit to working with members of Congress before the FCC releases any rulemaking or public notices on changes to USF programs?
I'm always happy to work with Congress.
Will you commit to work before any changes are made?
I'm always happy to commit to work to Congress.
I'll take that as yes, and I'm going to take your word for it.
I'm always happy to work with Congress.
Without these programs, households face barriers to education, telehealth, and emergency communications, leaving them disconnected from opportunities in civic life. We cannot discuss fairness in media oversight without addressing the systemic barriers that leave communities behind. And I'm tired of seeing time and time again how the Trump administration hurts Americans and make their everyday life more costly. It is time to hold them accountable. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Representative Fry, for 5 minutes to ask your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the witnesses for being here, Chairman Carr, commissioners.
Be engaged in any activities that lead to either policing bias
Whoops.
or pressuring
Sorry.
newsrooms into how to report the news. So we should not be regulating content.
So it would
at
be
all.
fair to say that you would disagree with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' letter to Fox News.
I think that to the extent any actions to pressure news by the government has led to the abuses that you are seeing under this administration, we should reconsider it.
Thank you for that. I'm glad to hear you that you disagree with that. Would you also, in 2023, progressive activists petitioned the FCC to deny the renewal of a WTXF TV's broadcast license, Fox 29 out of Philadelphia, arguing that Fox News 2020 election coverage rendered the licensee unfit for the public interest and character standards. The FCC issued a public notice, treated the matter as a permit but disclosed proceeding, and formally invited public comment on whether Fox 29 license should be renewed. It was only after the 2024 election that the commission dismissed the petition and renewed that license. Commissioner Gomez, during that period when the petition was pending and the FCC was actively taking comments on whether Fox 29's license should be renewed based on coverage, did you issue any public statement condemning the use of the public interest and character standards to attack the station's license over election-related speech?
I'm so glad you raised the issue of the Fox petition to deny by an outside party, because it gives me the opportunity to talk to you about what is different today. That was a petition to deny a license renewal, and it was treated like other petitions to renew licenses. In this case, what we are seeing is the FCC using complaints by a partisan group in order to police content and in order to harass and in order to affect how these stations are actually giving us the news. And that is light years different. What you didn't see under the last administration was the last administration investigating news outlets for the content of their broadcasts. You didn't see them using the public comment cycle in order to ask them, did a station violate any FCC rules? That is not what we do.
No, they just did that directly.
Gentleman's time
They
has
just did that
expired.
directly from
Gentleman's
the White
time
House.
has expired.
To say that they did not engage in
The
censorship.
gentleman's time has expired. I gave a lot of extra time for the witness to answer, but we will now
I guess your line of
recognize the
questioning fell
representative from
flat.
Michigan, Representative
Oopsie
Dingle, for
poopsie.
5 minutes for her questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the commissioners for being here today. This committee has a very serious responsibility to conduct oversight of the FCC. And while we made a lot of progress under the last administration, I'm deeply concerned that under this administration, that the FCC is moving in the wrong direction. I'm going to associate myself with the previous comments by my Democratic colleagues and move to some areas that I'm very deeply concerned about that are impacting people's lives. As vehicles become increasingly connected and reliant on wireless communications, we have a responsibility to ensure these technologies are not weaponized to harm people, especially survivors of domestic violence. Survivors have reported that their abusers have used connected vehicle services to track their movements, stalk them in real time, or remotely disable their vehicles. Yet, today, there is no clear, consistent, or confidential process for survivors to cut off an abuser's access to their vehicle services. 2024, I sent a letter to the FCC urging it to take proactive steps to address the threat of domestic abusers exploiting connectivity tools and vehicles to harass and intimidate their partners. While I worked with the FCC on this issue, the lack of a clear survivor-centered process is why I introduced the Bipartisan Safe Vehicle Access for Survivors Act with Congressman Dan Crenshaw. The bill is designed to create a secure pathway for survivors to disable connected vehicle access tied to wireless-enabled vehicle technologies, while providing clarity for automakers and service providers. Commissioner Gomez, from the FCC's perspective, how serious is the risk that these wireless-enabled vehicle technologies can be misused to facilitate stalking, coercive control, or other forms of abuse?
Thank you so much for that question, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. It is so important to be able to protect survivors of domestic abuse. As you know, we took action in the previous administration to require companies to sever the cell phone accounts of victims of domestic abuse, and also to not allow information in the abuser's bill to be given about the victims. And that is so important for their safety. So what you are doing is you are promoting now that we do this with vehicles. We sought comment on that issue, but I would welcome working with you and some guidance from
Okay, I'm going to ask you a brief question because I want to get to another issue. But given the FCC's jurisdiction over wireless services, does the FCC currently have the authority to address these harms? Are there limits to your authority without congressional action?
Thank you for that question. I do believe we have authority to address them. It's always helpful when it's outlined in the statute.
Okay, I just want to address that. So you're telling me, Commissioner Gomez, that the FCC has known about the issue of survivor safety in connected vehicles and how to disconnect abusive partners' devices from a vehicle. You're telling me, Commissioner Gomez, that that issue has been in front of the FCC and you have the authority to change it, but you haven't. You just haven't. I don't really understand this world. I don't understand, and I know I'm a participant in it in terms of terrible things happen at the hands of our government and others, and we, you know, it becomes kind of ho-hum at a certain point. And all these decades, we haven't addressed the corruption in our existing political systems in a meaningful way. I mean, people have talked about it, but I don't know. It's really, and I remember what it was like to work in a corporation, that there was this kind of culture of, oh, why am I buffering? There was this culture in corporations of, you know, kind of protect the corporation, you know, whatever. Not like, it didn't feel nefarious, but of course it was. And I think that much the same way, or you think you're trying to do something to change the corporation within, and, you know, whatever, you continue to do that. And out of life necessity, you soak up the salaries, right? You know, so I mean, there's a lot of burden all the way around. But it's really interesting to me when, like, you know, FCC, I mean, yeah, they have a lot of complicated issues. I don't know what their real structure is. I don't really know what their structure for, you know, for making decisions is, or all that. But it's kind of like when I hear moments like this, I kind of say to myself, why, what happened? Why are we doing that? Why is that happening? Why didn't we fix it? If we knew we could fix it, why didn't we fix it? Yeah, I know. We just saw that headline. Rubio has frozen foreign visa processing from 75 countries, including Thailand, Jamaica, Bahamas, Barbados. Like, what is going on? Oh my God, I saw something last night. I'm sorry. I know I'm kind of interrupting, but it's important and I want to talk about it. What did I do? Where am I? Sorry, I know I'm all over this. I'm all over the place. It's okay, Jay, because I'm kind of going all over the place right now. But it's really, let me just stop for a minute, because this is kind of important. And let me tell you, I've been watching Minneapolis, as many of you have, and Minneapolis, God bless you. God bless all of you. You're just an amazing city full of amazing people who are really standing up strongly to this fucking the fucking government. So I'm just really proud of Minneapolis. I'm totally impressed. Okay, let me show you what I was talking about. I had a lot of things on my mind, like late last night, of course, because that's just the way life is. Anyway, so, well, first of all, so this can't be a good thing. Margin loan balances are at an all-time high, 1.2 trillion, 36% growth in 1 year as of December 2025. And it looks like the average is about 10%, but of course it fluctuates wildly year to year because it's all market conditions. And I do have no idea what'll happen, but just like this is 5 years. This is 5 years from 2020 to now. And it's like, you know, yeah, it goes up and down. It's not that it doesn't. But margin balances are when people borrow to execute on a security strategy, whether they're borrowing money to buy options or any kind of security that can be loaned, that you can use loan. That you put up collateral at a brokerage firm, like 50%, and then the brokerage firm basically loans you the 50% to complete your purchase or your whatever, your transaction. And then if the market goes one way or the other, not in your favor, you call that margin loan. Okay, so let me tell you who I am. I was, in 1987, I was working my first Monday as the operations person at a brokerage branch, actually in Sacramento. It was my first day. I had started as a phone operator years before, and I was, yes. And then I was starting to get into operations. And I was like, But then Monday, October, whatever, was it the 19th? I don't even remember. Yeah, the Monday, the Monday that the market fell apart. Now, see what happens in a brokerage firm when the market goes against us, like a largely leveraged group of investors. You give people 48 hours to satisfy the margin loan. I'm fucking shitting you not. People have 48 hours to deposit more assets to cover that loan if the market goes against them. And it's called a margin call. And so my job was to start informing investors on the crash that they were going to face a margin call. It was cuckoo banana town. Yeah. So anyways, just saying, margin leverage is leverage, and it what it means can be a million things. Some people are like, oh, that means the market's really bullish and investors are really buying or really investing, da 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 da. And then other people, kind of like me, are like, wow, that's a lot of debt to be paid back in a 48-hour period. That's a lot of debt. And it's not, oh, you have years to pay back. No, baby. You got to fucking deposit money or we just take all your shit. We liquidate whatever you've got at market rates. Oh, it's not pretty. Anyway, so I'm just saying. Anyway, I was looking at that. What is this? Wait, what was my other thing? What's my other midnight thing? Oh, yeah, the killer CEOs. Alex Karp wants to pee on us with fentanyl in his piss. I don't understand that. I think it's over here. Oh, man, I guess it's not a thing. I guess I didn't do it. Oh, well. Oh, I wanted to read that too. Gosh, I've got stuff I want to read to you guys. Oh, now I can't remember what I did. Oh, man. Okay, never mind. I'm getting too much down my hole. Anyway, the point is that going back to the beginning, why can't people who can do things about things not do things about things? Anyway, so that's all. Sorry. That was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. But anyway. Yeah, back to this. Actually, I think we should, I really would like to read some stuff to you. Is that okay? Is it okay if we don't continue with the FCC? We know they're lying. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Dino, I got to get rid of you, babes. Babes, I got to get rid of you. You're killing me, Smalls. Let me find this Dino. I was hoping oh, yeah, that was it. I eat fascists. That's what it is. It doesn't say Dino. It says I eat fascists. Oh, there it is. Okay, bye, Dino. Okay. Yeah, I want to read to you. Is that okay? Steve Earle said, fuck the FCC. Steve Earle, yes. That was a good explanation until you call that margin loan. Yeah. Oh, you call the margin loan? Oh, is that bad? You call the margin. Yeah, it means you call people and say, give me all your money. That's why they call it a call. No, that's not what they call it, a call. Oh my God, there's just so much. I have so much in my brain. Nothing has room anymore. All right, let me pull up some stuff because I'm really serious about this. I can't wait until spring. I'm excited. Okay, let me see here. God, so much crap. Nope. Previously secret memo. Oh yeah, I want to read this. Okay. What do you guys think about the Sasha Riley recordings? I haven't listened. He's supposedly been talking about it for 10 years on Twitter. I don't recall ever hearing that name, but maybe I didn't. At some level, must be. No. At some level, must be. No. I don't know. Anyway, okay, sorry. Good morning. Good morning. All right, let's see. Yeah. 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 Oh, that's not the right one. Goofy. Okay. This is. Let me get rid of that. Yeah. 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 Hello. Is it me you're looking for? Please listen. I posted the full interview, and it is really horrific. But see, that's the actual reason I don't want to listen to it. and I know that's my privilege. My aunt used to bring me back orange blossom perfume from trips to Florida. Oh, sweet. Oh, orange blossom honey. Thank you. Thank you, Paulina. I will listen to it. Okay. Let's see. I do want to say this. The U.S. to suspend visa processing for 75 nations, State Department says. The Dump administration is suspending all visa processing for applicants from 75 countries, a State Department spokesperson. Was it Tommy? What's his name? No, as with everything, no duty to expose self to horror unnecessarily. Yeah. There's a transcript if you'd rather read it. Hi, Val. Yeah, I'll be, obviously the story's going to come in, right? The story's going to come in, so I'm going to have to understand at certain points. But we'll get there. We'll get there. The Dump administration, okay. The spokesperson did not elaborate on the plan, first reported by Fox News, which cited a State Department memo. This is from Reuters, by the way. The pause will begin on January 21st. Why January 21st? Somalia, Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, Brazil, Nigeria, Thailand are among the affected countries. And then I guess Barbados, and you were saying? The memo directs U.S. embassies to refuse visas under the existing law while the department reassesses its procedures. Wow, man. It's like ready, shoot, aim. That's what this administration is. Ready, shoot, aim. The reported pause comes amid the sweeping immigration crackdown pursued by Republican U.S. President Dump. In November, Dump vowed to permanently pause migration from, quote, all third world countries, which is not what is the term, following a shooting near the White House by an Afghan national that killed a National Guard member. Anyway, so that's that. Let's see. I want to do this. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, this was Gal. Gal found this one. Yikes, Mikes. Pentagon embraces Musk's Grok AI chatbot as it draws global outcry. This is PBS News. Okay. How are we doing? Jamaica. That'll affect Orlando. I mean, there's a huge Jamaican population. Yeah, think of all the... I mean, what? Brazil? Why Brazil? Right? Like, I don't understand. Sasha stuff is unverified. I mean, everything is... It's all a lot. Yeah, Max does have a good sniffer for that stuff. I was talking about Joe Lonsdale saying AI was meant to kill leftists to LOL. Yeah. No, Joe Lonsdale. And then Alex Karp said that he'd like to spray his critics, I guess, with fentanyl-laced urine. I'm like, wow, that's very descriptive. Because they were mean to Bolsonaro. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I almost forgot about Bolsonaro. Can you believe it? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mean to Bolsonaro. I wonder if there were people trying to come here after Hurricane Melissa, too, from Jamaica. Oh my God. This is just so awful. Like, it's just continual. Urine that gets you high. I thought that was just shrooms. Yeah, exactly. Ew. Ew. Don't say that. Do you love that all the press outlets we read call it the Defense Department? Can I just get an amen that every outlet that we read calls it the Defense Department and tells Pete Pig's Breath to go fuck himself? Because Brazil, really? Don't tell me that. Now I can never eat mushrooms again. Damn it. Or don't. Well, I don't want to eat urine. God. We can't have anything nice. It's kind of hard to verify when kids are dead and rich people hold the... Yes, that's so true, Val. All right, this one from Gal. Defense Secretary Pete Pigsbreath said Monday that Elon Musk's artificial intelligence chatbot, Grok or whatever, will join Google's generative AI engine in operating inside the Pentagon network. What could go wrong? They grow in poop. That's it. Terrible. That's it. I haven't taken shrooms in a while, so I'll just not take them. Imperiled by accusing the president, Jim Jordan, and Andy Biggs of sexual assault. He got Lindsey Graham and Clarence Thomas in attendance, too. Hey, man, I'm all for it. I am all for it. You present information and or whatever evidence, like however that works. I'm not a lawyer. I'm in. Yeah, chat is very tricky. Scuba Val, yes, it's called sterilized dirt, which cracks me up. Damn it, you guys knew this and you didn't tell me? You guys let me take shrooms and let me eat poop? Oh my God. You guys, how many friends are you? Usually grown in rice in people's basements these days, though you might find some in a cow pie. If you like searching through lots and lots of time. Some people do. Some people do. Oh, you guys, I love you guys. Let's see. Here we go.
Very soon, we will have the world's leading A1 models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. I'm Petey Pigsbreath, and I said this in a speech at Musk's spaceflight company, SpaceX, in South Texas. Thank you, everybody!
Thanks, Pig's Breath. All right. The announcement comes just days after Grok, which is embedded into X, the social media network. Is that what we're calling it and not Pornhub? We're not calling it deepfake Pornhub 2.0. We're not calling it 9chan, because I'm going to start calling it 9chan. X is now 9chan. Or 8.5chan. Princeton High School used to pull shrooms out of cow fields. Really? I have never heard of that. Which is embedded into X, or 9chan, owned by Musk, drew global outcry and scrutiny for generating highly sexualized deepfake images of people without their consent. It's a chan, people, okay? The behavior on there is a chan. The fucking trolls are from the chans. This is why we can't have nice things. Because mostly men are sick. Okay, here we go. God damn. Malaysia and Indonesia have blocked Grok, while the UK's independent online safety watchdog announced an investigation on Monday. Grok has limited image generation and editing to paying users. Pigsbreath, said Grok will go live inside the Defense Department later this month and announced that he would make all appropriate data from the military's IT systems available for AI exploitation. He also said data from intelligence databases would be fed into AI systems. This is Skynet, right? Is this Skynet? Is this Skynet? Where are we at? Is this Sky? Are we in Skynet now? Hold on. Hold on. Where is oh, here we go. Yeah, that's what I want. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on, hold on. I got this. I got just the thing for this situation. Okay, no problem. Let Lolo. Let loose and let Lolo. Let go and let Lolo. Do do do. Let's see, what am I calling this? Oops. All right. Do 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 do. Boom. Here we go. Here we go. We'll just put the logo on now. Put the logo on now. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we fucking doing here? What are we fucking doing here? What are we doing here? What the fuck is happening right now? There, we're going to put Skynet. We'll leave him up in the corner. I mean, really, come on now. Am I right? I don't know. I'm high. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. Oh my God. Pig's breath, aggressive push to embrace. Gal, thank you for this. To embrace the still developing technology stands in contrast to the Biden administration, which, while pushing federal agencies to come up with policies and uses for AI, was kind of funny, actually. That's kind of funny. Oh no, your premier has resigned? What? Oh, well, that's good. If he's scum, excellent. Let's see. Officials said rules were needed, which could be harnessed for mass surveillance, cyber attacks, or even lethal autonomous devices was being used responsibly. Well, that reminds me of a story. And please share the broadcast. Let me find what I was going to talk to you about because... Oh, that's the chokeholds. Where's the other thing? Previously secret memo. Nope. Nope. Oh my God, let me find it. Wait, what was it? It was... Oh, shit. Where was it? Okay, that's not what I wanted, but I know. Wait, hold on. Let's see. What was I gonna do? I want to find the story on. Oh, drones and ice. That's what I wanted to find. Yes. Yes. This is what I wanted to say. Yeah. This is what I wanted to say. Oh. Let me read you this. Okay, this is what caught my eye the other day. This is from January 12th. Sorry. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. See, this is why when I look at other people trying to do what I'm doing, which is go through news stories and play congressional shit and talk about it and shit like that, This is why I'm like so frustrated, because it just takes me so long to even try to draw some things interestingly into this and to find, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, this is not for the faint of heart. This is what this is about FIFA. This is why this caught my, the Quebec premiere. Yeah. Oh, Doug Ford is gone. What happened? Did he have another like porn addiction? Didn't he have some kind of porn addiction or something? Is that what Doug Ford is famous for? Is he famous for having like a something? Isn't he like a sexual, like a predator? No. What is he? I don't know. Not the porn addiction. That's not the predator. I thought he was either like a predator or kind of like had some kind of sex involved scandal. I could be wrong. Anyway. Well, I'm glad he's gone because he was an asshole. So good. Now, we have some assholes here too. So speaking of surveillance and all of the shit that I'm just was reading about, his brother, that's it. Rob Ford. That's the one. Thank you, Neil. That's exactly who I was thinking of as Rob Ford, who was the mayor of Toronto. Yes, he was caught doing crack. That's right. I'm sorry. I totally messed that up. Oh, Ontario? Oh, I thought he was Quebec. I'm sorry. His brother had a coke addiction who also liked beer. Oh, that's right. He liked beer. No, I remember him. I remember Bob or whatever, Rob, whatever his name is. I guess I don't remember him that well. Okay, well, versus crying, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this a little bit. This is a release from the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security announced it will launch a new office. So you remember how we cut all this government shit? Do you remember that? Do you remember how we cut all this, we dog-eared this shit? We screwed the pooch, if you will. Well, DHS says, hold my beer. Because we're going to procure and deploy drone and counter-drone technologies. That sounds scary. Marking a major step forward in restoring American airspace sovereignty. That's right, a top priority for the Trump administration. And we get to shoot people from the air. And you know what? You can't yell mean things at a drone. Yeah, that's right. You can't call us fascists. That's right. Drone doesn't care. The drone doesn't care what you say. The drone doesn't care if you throw a snowball at it. It don't care. It's going to shoot you, but it don't care. Okay. Drones are transforming industries nationwide, but they are also increasingly exploited by malicious actors like ICE. Oh, wait, no, that's not what they said. The new DHS program, Executive Office for Unmanned Aircraft Systems and Counter Unmanned Aircraft Systems. Wow, that's a mouthful. EOUASCUAS. What does that say? What is that? That just rolls right off the tongue. It will oversee strategic investments in drone and counter-drone technologies that can outpace evolving threats and tactics, or also known as the Make Matt Gaetz' brother-in-law rich again, i.e. Palmer Luckey, who owns Anduril, is Matt Gaetz' brother-in-law and owns the drone maker in American defense and is one of the tech bros that run this country. Thank you very much for coming to my program. The program executive office has already begun its work, and this week will finalize a $115 million investment in counter-drone technologies that will be critical in securing America 250. That's right, baby. Get ready, because we're going to celebrate the dawn of fascism. Like no one will have ever seen anything like it. I can guarantee you that. And 2026 FIFA World Cup venues, which it's okay to boycott that. I'm sorry. It's okay to boycott us for everything. Would you do it? Because it would really help us out. I know it feels like it wouldn't help us out, but actually in the long term, it would. Thank you. Let's make FIFA World Cup a disaster. I mean, not a disaster like happens, but like a failure economically. That's what I want. I want to make FIFA 2026 impoverished again. I want to show them, the regime, that fascism is not lucrative. I have dreams. I have dreams. I dreamed a dream. I don't know that song. I dreamed a dream. That's a great song. Home the tigers come at night. Yeah, I do like that song. Okay, wait, what now? Okay, the new, okay, wait, where am I? Oh, yeah, here we go. Drones represent the new, crispy.
Drones represent the new frontier of American air superiority. Under President Trump, we are entering a new era to defend our air superiority, to protect our borders and the interior of the United States. My interior, that's right, I said it. With the creation of the DHS Program Executive Office for Unmanned Aircraft and Counter-Unmanned Aircraft Systems, President Trump continues his historic legacy. That's throbbing legacy. In developing American dominance. I'd like him to dominance over me. Yeah. Sure, why not? I could do anything for 2 minutes. This will help us continue to secure the border. And cripple the cartels. Protect our infrastructure. Protect my infrastructure, Daddy. And keep Americans safe as they attend festivities and events like the threesome at my house later. During a historic year of America's 250th birthday. Happy birthday to you, America. And FIFA 2026. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. That was too fun. I'm going to clip that one because I laughed. Anyway. President Trump has championed the protection of the country from drone threats, initially signing the law in 2018 that gave DHS components the authority to detect and mitigate drones. Is that what we're calling it now? Mitigating? Okay. Since then, the department has conducted over 1,500 missions to protect the United States from illicit drone activities. The new program executive office, this is stupid, the PO, will be taking the threat of hostile drones head on and innovating ways drones can keep us safe. They can keep us safe. Come on now. Come on. Don't be grumpy. We're going to keep you safe. This guy's going to keep you safe. Wait, I got to get, where's Palmer Lucky? Jesus fucking Christ. I used to have a really dumb picture of Palmer Lucky, but it was on my old computer. Oh shit. I didn't want to do that. Palmer Lucky. Palmer Lucky. Where's a real, oh, here we go. This is a real dumb picture of him. Okay, wait. I'm going to show you this one. This is why we can't have nice things, okay? This is just it right here. This is the one. Yikes. Okay. This guy is Skynet. Well, no, he's not. I guess Palantir is really Skynet, isn't it? Yeah, here he is. Here's the guy that's going to kill us with his drones. Literally. Literally, this is the dude. Yeah. That's him. When people ask where are the MAGA counter-protesters, point to the ICE agents. That's a good idea. I did see that the leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, was in the 4,500 alleged agent list leak. Really? What agent list leak? Wait, did I miss something? Oh, I'm hungry too. Don't make me hungry. Let's see. What now? You're having steak tonight? Oh, that sounds good. I have steak a couple times a year. I really enjoy steak, but that's so good. A nice ribeye. Anyway, that's Palmer Luckey. R.I.P. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Let me see this. Hostel and keep American safe. With the support from President Trump, the department is now making unprecedented investments of money that we thought we didn't have. But it turns out we just needed to steal it from USAID, and then we could spend it on a new $1.5 billion contract, enabling components such as customs and border protection and immigration and customs enforcement to quickly and strategically acquire advanced technologies needed to, get this, can you get this? Needed to protect their officers. Oh, and U.S. citizens. The DHS is saying in writing that their first job with this whole drone shit is to protect their officers, which means they're going to use drones, I would think, to shoot people. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling I'm not. In December, DHS authorities were broadened. Wait a minute, what now? Authorizing all department components, state, local, tribal, and territorial law enforcement partners and correctional agencies to fully combat drone threats. What's fully mean? Last month, FEMA completed the fastest non-disaster grant award in the history of the department, awarding $250 million in grants for counter-drone capabilities to the 11 states hosting FIFA World Cup 2026 matches and the National Capital Region. I would love to know what's the December DHS? December DHS broadened authorities. Whoops. Spell. What? Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Oh no, that's not it. Okay, well, I'm going to have to look on that one because I can't find any mention of a particular thing just coming right up. So that's that. So that's my fear, is drones are going to become part of a fucking thing. Yeah. The Biden administration enacted a framework in late 2024 that directed national security agencies to expand their use of the most advanced AI systems, but prohibited certain uses, such as applications that would violate constitutionally protected civil rights or any system that would automate the deployment of nuclear weapons. It is unclear if these prohibitions are still in place under the Trump administration. During his speech, Pig's Breath spoke of the need to streamline and speed up technological innovations within the military, saying, "We need innovation to come from anywhere and evolve with speed and purpose." Can I get another drink? He noted that the Pentagon possesses combat-proven operational data from 2 decades of military and intelligence operations, so why not feed it into Elmo's computer? AI is only as good as the data that it receives, and we're going to make sure that it's there, Pig's Breath said. Except for the shit we want to redact. That's all. We're going to redact that stuff. What are you guys doing? What are you guys talking? I love you so much. Yes, get to the store. If there's going to be really snowy up in Michigan, you guys be safe up there, okay? Where I love this show so much. I want it to never change. Let's see. Okay. The defense secretary said he wants AI systems within the Pentagon to be responsible. Don't worry. Don't worry. Because if not, I'm just gonna, I'll show you what I'll do. If I get in trouble, I'm just gonna hand it over to my trusty dusty bottle of gin. Here's Pig's Breath's gin. The defense secretary said he wants this bottle of gin and AI systems within the Pentagon to be responsible, though he went on to say, everybody I know has a big butt. He went on to say he was shrugging off any AI models, quote, that won't allow you to fight wars. Pig's Breath said his vision for military AI systems is kind of like these people up here. This is pretty much what he thinks. Oh, God damn. You see, this is why I get so frustrated when people try to oversimplify where we are. And I mean, I just think it would benefit you. If you think you want to solve this big problem that the world has, how do you solve a problem like Maria? Then you're going to have to understand some of the players, because it's not about Dump. It's not even about Stephen Miller. It's not even about Russ Vogt. They don't have the money. The people keeping this in power are the bros. That's who's doing this. It's the oil and gas and the tech bros. I mean, just saying. Pig's Breath said his vision for means that AI systems means that they will operate, quote, without ideological constraints that limit lawful military applications, before adding that the Pentagon's AI will not be woke. Yes, we want it fully asleep. Go to bed. Go to bed. Musk developed and pitched Grok as an alternative to what he called woke AI interactions from rival chatbots like Google's Gemini or OpenAI's ChatGPT. Oh, you know what? Musk, you better watch it, because Sam Altman and whoever the guy is at Google, I can't remember his name, they'll kick your ass. They'll spike your ketamine. You know what I'm saying? In July, Grok caused controversy after it appeared to make anti-Semitic comments. You mean it didn't really? Because it either did or it didn't. God damn it. Stupid fucking, come on, PBS. That praised Adolf Hitler and shared several anti-Semitic posts. Well, then that, I think, would be almost decidedly anti-Semitic. But it appears, maybe, the Pentagon didn't respond to questions about the Grok. But you know what? Because it's like, fuck you. We don't care. Okay, let's see. What else is going on? Yeah, so U.S. withdraws some forces from Middle East as dump weighs Iran strikes. Because the no new wars apparently meant all new wars. It was a typo. Yeah. No new wars just was really all new wars. That's all. Let's see. Iran's opposition is battling to oust the rulers, but hobbled by divisions. Yeah, see, this is where I think this guy, Reza Pahlavi, I don't, he's the son of the former Shah of Iran. Oh, sorry, the gin bottle could probably go away, huh? Let me take the gin bottle away. I don't know about Pahlavi. I don't know the situation well enough to know what is really the right, or or what would be best, I guess, for humanity or for the Iranians and their lives. But apparently, over 2,000 protesters have been killed, and it's quite terrible. And I also understand, and I'll just confirm this, that I think they're turning on Skynet for the Iranians. I mean, not Skynet, Starlink, which is kind of Skynet-ish, but whatever. Okay, amid a lethal crackdown against anti-government protest, Iran's opposition and its most prominent leader, Reza Pahlavi, face differences within their own ranks. When are we going to just tell the billionaires to go fuck themselves? Deep divisions in the Iranian opposition dating back decades now pose a significant challenge to efforts at delivering change in Iran, where security forces have unleashed a ferocious crackdown against anti-government protests that have reached a level unseen in many years. In the absence of any clear opposition leader inside the country, Reza Pahlavi, the son of Iran's Shah, deposed in 1979, has stepped into the vacuum. He's been in the vacuum for a minute, by the way. In fact, we talked about him maybe like 5 months ago, calling from the United States for demonstrations and work strikes. After he summoned Iranians to the streets last week, enormous crowds turned out to vent their rage, which has quickly evolved from dissatisfaction with dire economic conditions to outright demands for overthrowing the government. And I don't think the CIA is there at all. I'm sure they're nowhere in the neighborhood. Since the demonstrations erupted, sparked initially by the collapse of the Iranian currency, more than 2,500 people have been killed, according to one human rights group, and protests have taken place across the country and among various economic sectors, classes, and ethnic groups. This is reported protests in Iran between December 29, 2025 and January 13th. So the little dots, they are all over the country. Wow. The country's opposition is equally diverse, including ethnic minorities, Republicans, monarchists, leftists, and former supporters of the Islamic Republic. Groups hold passionate and differing views, for instance, on what form a future government should take and on the degree of regional autonomy that should be given to Iran's minorities. No matter the size of the protest, political experts say that a divided opposition makes it less likely that the regime would fall peacefully. And they say that without a unified, organized opposition, it could be difficult to attract the sizable portion of Iranians who may oppose the Islamic system but are reluctant to protest without greater confidence in a smooth transition. No other opposition figure has Pahlavi's name recognition or the nostalgia that his name evokes. Is that what we're calling it now? Nostalgia? Okay. Most Iranians alive today were born well after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, when his father, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was ousted as the Shah of Iran following nearly 4 decades in power. As economic misery and international isolation have deepened, Iranians have increasingly looked to the pre-revolutionary era as a time when Iran was prosperous and respected. I thought it was portrayed as being fairly brutal. I don't know, but what do I know? But rather than try and forge a coalition with Iranians from other political traditions, as he attempted last time, there was major unrest in Iran. Pahlavi this time has presented himself as the uncontested leader of the opposition, pointing to the fact that protesters inside the country have often chanted pro-monarchy slogans. Due to an internet shutdown by the government, it remains unclear whether people have heeded Pahlavi's call to strike in key sectors of the economy. And that's him. Many people who chant, "Long live the Shah," and "This is the final battle, Pahlavi will return," clearly want the return of constitutional monarchy in the Pahlavi dynasty, said Andrew Galili of the National Union for Democracy in Iran, a nonprofit in Washington aligned with Pahlavi. But the crown prince's support in Iran, but you call him a crown prince. But the crown prince's support in Iran is not limited to monarchists, who are a very large section of the Iranian population. He has strong, just ask my friends. He has a strong support base among Republican Iranians who reject the clerical rule and see Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi as the only leader who can guide Iran through revolution and then transition to democracy. It'll be fine. I'll just take the tree up to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it back there, then I'll bring it back here. What could go wrong? Interviews with members of Iran's opposition and their public statements show that many remain suspicious of Pahlavi's claim to leadership, putting a ceiling on his support and potentially spelling trouble if Iran's government were to collapse. The potency of these divisions became apparent in 2023, the last time Iran was convulsed by nationwide protests. The most prominent figures of the fractious Iranian diaspora opposition announced they had formed a coalition to work toward a secular, democratic Iran. Its members, including a women's rights activist, a well-known actress, and Pahlavi, agreed to set aside their deep differences to bring an end to Iran's theocratic system, gripping each other's hands in a show of unity. That image, their comments, were broadcast by Persian-language satellite channels and closely followed by Iranians inside the country. "We may not agree on every single thing," Pahlavi said at the event. "What is important is that we do not lose momentum." But less than 2 months later, the coalition had fallen apart, riven by disagreements over membership, a lack of strategic thinking and organizing, and the harsh opposition of much of Pahlavi's base of support, according to public and private accounts from several people involved. If the Crown Prince was the problem, and other members of the coalition had significant support among Iranians, then the rest of the coalition should have been able to operate, mobilize, and lead without him, said Saeed Chaseminejad, a Pahlavi advisor and senior Iran and financial economics advisor at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, a Washington think tank, in an email. In addition to Pahlavi's followers, there are today several other significant political movements and figures within the opposition. Outside Iran, the opposition includes Masih Alinejad, an activist and journalist based in the U.S. who has fought against Iran's compulsory hijab law and was a key member of the 2023 coalition. She declined to comment. Inside the country, harsh repression by the Iranian government has hobbled civil society and robbed it of its most charismatic and popular leaders, though some have continued to speak out and organize despite great risk. In the early days of the protest, for instance, 17 Iranian civic activists, journalists, and former government officials issued a statement calling for a peaceful transition away from the Islamic Republic. I'll link that as well. The signatories included Mostafa Tajadeh, forgive me if I mispronounce that, a former deputy interior minister during Iran's reformist era who is now in prison and has been in and out of jail for much of the period since 2009. He has called for an end to clerical rule through an elected constituent assembly, but also opposes the violent overthrow of the government. Narges Mohammadi, another signatory, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2023 while she was serving a lengthy prison sentence related to her human rights work. She was released on medical leave in late 2024, but was violently arrested in December by security forces. Amar Malaki, a political scientist at Tilburg University in the Netherlands who conducts public opinion polling in Iran, said his research has found that Pahlavi has strong support among 1/3 of Iranians and strong opposition from another third, with the rest being undecided and open to supporting him based on the context. Just with protest and even with the support of 2/3 of society, you cannot change the regime without international support, Maleki said. And even if the regime is changed, you cannot achieve stability without accommodating other opposition groups. Placard is placed on bricks that reads in Farsi, "Long live the Shah." That's what that is. Interviews with protesters in Iran showed that even among Pahlavi's supporters, there are nuanced views on him and his future role. "I fully support the return of the prince," said Nazanin, a 35-year-old woman from Semnan, in an interview conducted before Iran's internet blackout. "He is the best option for leading this revolution now. I personally believe in the symbolic role of Reza Pahlavi as a leader of the transition period, rather than as a future ruler of Iran," said Davoud, a man in his mid-40s in Mashhad, in an interview before the blackout. Both spoke on the condition that they would not be fully identified for fear of reprisals. "I would never have supported this guy in the past," said a woman in western Tehran in a voice message provided by an intermediary to the Washington Post in the midst of the internet blackout. "But we have no other option. There is no way back, only forward. If we don't rally around him and unite, we will be buried here." Oh, God. Pahlavi's support varies across the country and is lower in areas heavily populated by Iran's ethnic minorities, such as Kurds, Azeri Turks, or Baluch, Maleki said. Faribi Baloch, a civic activist based in London who advocates for the rights of Iran's Baluch minority, said Pahlavi had failed to reach out to ethnic minorities to understand their needs or provide a plan for how mass protests would lead to the toppling of the regime. When he accepts responsibility and says, "I'm a leader," he must specify his next steps, Baloch said. Abdullah Matadi, a general secretary of the Kamala Party of Iranian Kurdistan and a core member of the 2023 coalition, also said that Pahlavi had, to his knowledge, not reached out to Kurdish groups to initiate a dialogue. "The breadth of Iran's ethnic and political diversity is not reflected in his policies, nor his performance, nor in the plans he has put forward," Motadi said. Galili rejected such criticism of Pahlavi, saying he has been a unifying figure who has reached out to ethnic minorities, women's activists, and dissidents. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi's approach has been deliberately inclusive and principle-based, focused on Iran's territorial integrity, human rights, secular governance, and democratic choice, Galili said. And Ghassim said that Pahlavi's coalition included ethnic and religious minorities and people of different political beliefs, unified by their support for Pahlavi's leadership. While many opponents of the Iranian regime largely share a hope for a democratic, pluralistic future, some worry that Pahlavi's emergence as the most prominent opposition figure opens the door for an opposite outcome. Madie Golru, a journalist and activist who was imprisoned in Iran and now lives in Sweden, said that she fears that the elevation of one single figure would result in another totalitarian government. Some members of the opposition are now, in part, blaming themselves and their own allies for not offering Iran an alternative that they could turn to. "Over the past 2 years, I've been a member of countless groups of people who thought like me, but could not put aside small differences and work together. I certainly am not innocent here," said Kaveh Shahruz, an Iranian-Canadian lawyer and human rights activist, in an Instagram post last week. He called for people who shared a desire for a democratic Iran to finally form a united front. "This may be the most critical moment in Iran's history in recent decades," he wrote. "We have a moral responsibility to act now. Tomorrow will be too late." Yeah. Too much, baby. Gotta run for shelter, gotta run for shade. It's too much, baby. Okay, Skynet, go away. You're bothering me. You don't own this show. Senate expected to vote on war powers resolution today. Oh, fantastic. Woo! Yeah, let's see what's going on. Let me check the waves. Let me check the waves. Waves. Let's see. What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, they're just doing nothing right now. Do. They don't look like they're really like right there ready to vote, so I probably won't stick with it. La 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 la. I posted a Storm Chips link in Discord. Storm Chips? What are storm chips? Separation of church and state everywhere. Yes, please. Yes, please. Democrat Chris Jadovsky, sorry, wins Fort Pierce Commission seat by 31 votes. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, let me tell you my Fort Pierce story. I lived in Fort Pierce. I lived in Fort Pierce, Florida on a boat because they have marinas there, right? I loved it, by the way. Although it's one of the most racist towns I've ever been in. Like literal guns and skinheads with Confederate flags riding around in trucks all the time. I mean, like all the time. So that's the most like intimidated I've been and most racist I've seen. And I'm sure there's more, but that was enough for me. But I love Fort Pierce. I think it's beautiful, and I couldn't be happier that Fort Pierce got a Democrat because it was very Republican when I was there. Really Republican. Oh, I miss that so much. Yeah, wow, that's really, congratulations. Let's save Florida. I want to move to Florida. I don't know why. I need Florida to, like, you know, not want to put me in jail. My grandma helped the neighbors who fled the shot. Oh, Grace Lisa. Oh, my goodness. That's so wonderful. That is an amazing story. I would love to hear more about that. I don't know. I know when billionaires are forced to agree with the law. They never do. They never do. All right. Well, I've taken 3 hours of your time this morning. I want to thank you so much for coming to my little show. I'm glad we spend this time together just to read some news and laugh along. Seems we just get started, and before you know it. Hey, okay, all right, okay. Crazy cat, it's a crazy cat. Yeah, crazy cat. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming. I will see you tomorrow morning. And actually, programming note. Tomorrow morning, I think tomorrow morning, I think I'm going to start a little early. I have it set for 6 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. Maybe I'll make it 6:30. Oh, no, I do think I have it for 6:30. Anyway, maybe 6. Okay, anyway, 6:30 tomorrow. I'm going to be here a little earlier than I was today, God willing, and the creek don't rise. So stay tuned for that. Come on down. Come on down to Pound Town. We have a good day coming tomorrow. And we've got still lots of stuff. I still have so many things to read. I just feel like I'm going to bore you to tears. And I like to spread out. Boring you. Yeah, who is she? They're investigating. Elise Slotkin. That's right. Elise Slotkin announced that she is being investigated. That's right. For her description of not accepting on the legal order, which is factual information. So I'm not quite sure how you get indicted for factual information, but okay. Okay. Hi, bye. Hi, kitty. You want to say hi? Oh, okay. He didn't want to say hi to you guys. I'm sorry. All right. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.